welcome everybody to probably a very loud entrance to My Hero Analysis Beyond the MHA Rewatch, because typically I like to keep that on half volume, but I completely forgot because I've been running around my apartment with my head cut off like a chicken all evening. Anyway, yes, welcome to the show. Steph, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great.
That is excellent.
Yeah, I'm hoping you will get better.
I will be absolutely fine. I didn't mess up the name of the show this time. I think I've learned just read it off the screen right in front of me. It's like right there. Just read it. So there we go. There's that. Welcome everybody back to saying my ears while I just plus Ultra. And I am very sorry again for that. But anyway, welcome back everybody. Sorry for the week off. We had life stuff going on, but we are back in full swing for 4 episodes tonight, which has actually ended up at like a perfect cliffhanger moment. It was great. I'm kind of glad that we didn't start next week with the one that we're ending this week on, because it is just, catching up with everybody else kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, but let's dive right into the end of the cavalry battle episode.
Mm-hmm.
Steph, take it away.
So I believe on the end of the beginning of this one was, I believe Todoroki and Deku are finally getting their face-off time, and they're just met. They realize that Todoroki's cornered Deku. He's ready to take that 10 million points. Or is it 100? It's 10 million. I think it's 10 million.
Was it 10 million? Or was it? I thought it was just. I think you're right. It's 10 million. It was a crazy number.
Yeah, it escalated really quick, and we kind of get to see what's going on, because in this last episode, not 18 but 17, they showed that he lost his headband, but they didn't really go into kind of detail on that.
Yeah.
So Mineta and Froppy here are talking, and they're in complete darkness, so they can't figure out how somebody got to it as fast as he did, and just the look of pure pain on his face was just made me laugh. So
I love when they do this a lot. We even saw it in the very first competition where we see the scene of Deku exploding over everybody, and then they're like, wait, hold on, rewind, let's see how we got to that moment. I kind of love when they do that, because it keeps the momentum going, but then maybe 5 minutes later or the next episode or something like that, they'll be like, okay, well, now we'll fill in those gaps, in case you were asking yourself, wait, what just happened? Because we will learn how Mineta loses his headband in this.
Mm-hmm. I think it is going through that now they're across from them too, because it's they're all coming at Deku, everybody's around.
Because at the end of the previous episode, we think it's just Shoto's team, but I think when we start off this episode, we learn, oh no, wait, there's actually a bunch of other teams around them.
Yeah, and everybody wants now Midoriya's headband.
Yep.
I think they were contemplating because of Shoto coming at him and how he set himself up, that they do think highly of Midoriya, and they needed the best team and the best way to do things to be able to come at him. So that was nice too.
I love it because for Midoriya, going into this school, he was the picked on kid, the kid with no quirk, and now all of a sudden he's without him even asking to be or wanting to be or anything like that, he's almost considered top dog. And yet, again, he never uses his power or anything like that. And right next to him is Bakugo, someone who became famous in high school because of his encounter with the villain, got first in class, first in the entrance exam and all that stuff. And yet no one's doing the whole, they seem to think very highly of you. No one's throwing the gauntlet down against him or anything like that. And it's all happening to Deku, and it's cool to see.
Yeah. Oh, I like this line too. It's like a horse. He's kicking him. It's all right, let's move forward. I did find it interesting that this, he went through and thought about each member and what they're going to contribute to his little cavalry, and how he's going to take care of things, the defensive mechanism on both the installation with Momo. It just really shows you how Todoroki's really thinking about everything just as much as Midoriya.
As we learn a little bit in this course of these episodes, the fact that Shoto, whether he wanted to or not, his entire childhood was pretty much training to become the replacement of the number one hero, pretty much, because his dad wants him to surpass All Might more than anything in the world.
So this is what they have all the groups And this, like, looking at him like this has to be the scariest thing ever for anybody.
You know what's funny too is like the most frightening thing to me would be the dude galloping at me like Beast on the right.
And like, I don't even know what the guy on top does, but it's just crazy. And this part here was ingenious for them to like just. He's like, they're just gonna take out everybody else so they can just focus right on the one with all the points. So.
Yep. But then they leave poor Denki as, you know.
Yeah. And I like how it's like 1.3 trillion volts or something like that. That should literally kill them all, and yet it's just
I'm wondering if that means like that's his own amperage, and then as it extends out, like depending how far out you are, you're only getting like a certain amount. But he's putting out that much because I mean, it's not like maybe touching him would be like putting a fork in an electrical outlet, but they're across the room, so maybe it's. I don't know how that works. Who the heck knows? You might just call it. Welcome, Christian. I see. I have arrived. So close to the IMD. Veneta did get robbed. I'll say it.
And then they freeze him, which the guy running, the galloping guy, his hands, everything, they're like down there now. It's crazy.
I feel bad for that guy because, you know, he's furry too, so that ices him everything.
I did like that Aizawa actually does do great commentary when he does talk because it's like ideal. He gets all the stats and everything later on. But this is when he's talking about Todoroki realizing that his ice slide or freezing everybody was not going to like have them keep them all down because they all are pretty crazy quirks and really smart. So that's why the electricity came first, was to make sure everybody was grounded. It was crazy.
They always go above and beyond with the thinking, and I appreciate that. James says maybe their suits are voltage proof, which I would say, I mean, it's a good point. However, I think that would be unfair to the electric users in this kind of competition where it is everybody's supposed to be on an even playing field. Because you're basically saying, you know, everybody else is told one kid can explode things with his hands. Their suits aren't explosion proof, you know, so it's kind of, I don't know. It's a handicap if that's the case. But maybe. Who knows?
I don't know. Oh, that's what he said. Nice commentary.
Thumbs up in his face.
Yes. This part I was trying to figure out because Dark Shadow's trying to figure out how to get past them at this point. He's finding it hard to get past Momo and the lightning guy on the other side because electricity is going to cause Dark Shadow to go crazy, so he has to stay on Momo's side. But he's very determined to be. I think he's almost like worthy. He wants to be worth something because it looks like he's trying to prove himself to Deku this entire time.
Yeah.
Which
I think he says something along those lines. He's like, if you feel like you can use me, you had a good way to use me. I want to be of use in that way, kind of thing. But he recognizes that he's not, you know, infallible. He has his own weaknesses too.
And so I think this is just continuing on like their little battle. They're trying to figure out how the best way to get past him. He's explaining to himself how offensive he is and his weakness being that when it gets darker, his quirk goes out of control.
Yeah. I loved this graphic. I mean, I'm sure everybody here has either seen or had a watch when they were growing up that had the moon to day cycle on it, like on a screen. And that was like one of my favorite things as a kid was watching my watch like actually rotate to show a moon or show a sun. And it was like this, but you know, a great little Dark Shadow in the middle. I thought it was really cool. And I love Dark Shadow when he's like crying and like a little shaky little Dark Shadow. What a good personality his like quirk has. It was, very well. Try using me line.
And that's when he's like, I'm against violence because he gets all wimpy.
I love it. And yet, oh my god, when it's dark out, that Dark Shadow is the furthest thing from against violence. It's interesting, like, the mentality, if you would give something like Dark Shadow a mentality, how it would change. Like, it's very much a bipolar aspect, right? It's like, from night to day, his personality changes entirely.
Yeah, and then Midori had mentioned, he's like, do they know that you can't use your quirk when it gets too lighter? Does it weakens? And he's like, no, I only told Koda about it. And I like how he's like, Koda's a man of few words, he'll never say anything.
Koda's saying a goddamn thing. I bet he talks a lot to ants, though. You know.
Mm-hmm. I almost want to think he would talk a lot to Tokiyami because he looks like a bird. It'd be cute.
That's very possible. Instead, he hooks it up with Sugar Man.
Yep. And this part too is just going back to where Bakugo's at because he's facing off against the least favorite person in this entire show, which is hard to do. And so this is him basically recapping his anger because he's getting made fun of and telling Kirishima that we're going to change a plan and basically take it again.
That face is intense.
Yes. And I like how Kirishima takes charge. He's like, Bakugo, like they're like yelling at him now, like they're not like scared of him anymore. They realize that he's not going to hurt them, but he's insane.
Yeah, I think they have a good grasp of his personality, where he's a lot of loud noise and light show and explosion stuff, but he's not actually. He wants to be a hero. He's not a bad person, and they know that, so they could actually talk to him rationally, even though he's not being rational.
Yeah, I'm that face right there. Yeah. Stero's face made me laugh.
I gotta say, Dan to say, isn't that I was kind of rooting for the copy ability guy? It's funny to see Bakugo get knocked down a peg. I agree with you in that regard, and I do like Monoma just for that. However, he keeps going and keeps hammering it on, and we'll see him again even in this course of 4 episodes being just the worst, and he continues to be the worst to even today in that series. So at first, I mean, like, yeah, people with copy abilities like that, like Rogue, the X-Men, they're just awesome. It's a quirk of all quirks, really.
He can only use one at a time, though.
He can store up to 5. So he has the ability to store 5 within him, but he can only use one at a time. But he's able to use them as much as he wants for a very specific amount of time. I forget what that specific amount of time is.
It wasn't very long, from what I remember.
It wasn't, but what's great is if he teams up with another really strong hero, them together would be amazing because he could just keep patting him on the back or whatever. Or a team of heroes, I guess.
He's really good about the whole block because that wasn't even like a quirk. He just or else Bakugo's very predictable. I don't know. We're really going to go with either one.
I think that's one of those cases where Bakugo's anger made him very easy to read. Like, oh hey, we see he's gonna, clearly Monoma is also in training as well. So maybe we haven't met his teacher yet, but his teacher is definitely more of the martial arts kind of fisticuffs kind of person, so they might be teaching them more on the ground, 1-to-1 or 1v1 kind of abilities.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes is what.
One at a time for 5 minutes. Okay, the copy. But he does use without touching Bakugo again. He uses Kirishima's ability after slapping Kirishima on the head, and then he goes back to using Bakugo's ability, the explosion, without touching Bakugo again. So he does store multiple. I forget what it was. I wonder what would happen if he copies One for All. I believe they kind of go into that.
Yeah.
Oh, not yet in the anime. It'll happen. We'll see it soon.
I like how this is when he explodes him and realizes what's going on, and then he hits Kirishima right afterwards. It's just such a...
I love how he hits him, too. He really just, pops him, real hard down.
And you'd think that his hair would hurt, though, too. I'm always wondering if
I don't think it's actually hard spikes. I think it's just, gel spikes. It's not like the Figma toys of these things that, would make you bleed.
Yeah. I just wonder, because, is he in rock form right now? You never know, so...
Yeah, true. Oh, here he is using Kirishima's ability, which is such a cool-looking ability. I like it.
His little splash screen thing, which is really cool. Then we get one more too, which I don't know if we ever hear from this guy again afterwards. I was like, oh, okay.
This guy, the paste pot kind of dude. Oh.
The glue guy, and then this is glue. I'm hoping so. It's kind of like the cement thing. But they realized it's you're the one who provoked us, right? Because they talk about going back to the classroom scene where he was outside. But I don't even think Bakugo meant to provoke them. He just wanted them to get out of the way. So that was the funny
he's provoking without having to be provoking. That's just his state of being, just being provoking. Yeah, Dan is saying the Figma speaks otherwise in terms of spiky hair.
Yeah.
I see James got my Paste Pot Pete reference. As for the copy thing being a DNA thing, I don't want to go into it too much because that will be a beginning of season 5 thing that'll be fun for everybody. Let's move on. Oh, Endeavor. What a journey this character goes on. I love him.
He's definitely one of a. I don't know. He's got an interesting build as it goes along.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, as an adult who's been through a lot of things in life, I know people can be terrible at times, and then there's sides to people, all different sides, and it's like how you kind of manage that, how you make amends for things, and we'll see a full character arc for Endeavor like later on down the line. But he does some terrible things, and we learn a lot about the terrible things he does in this series.
I think this is him talking because we're getting ready to do something. Can't remember.
Who's calling the bastard? It's definitely not Ida.
No.
Call Ida a bastard.
I think it's more like because he thought of everything. I think Midoriya at this point is thinking, he's like, how am I going to get out of this? Because he doesn't have all his tricks. And Todoroki's got a pretty solid defense and offense. And so, and this is the point, I'm going to call it right now because this whole point of Ida, this move is my favorite part of this episode.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The Synchro Burst is big special move.
Yeah. Because I was really excited to see another character really step up like during these kind of things. So you expect Midoriya to do it, Todoroki, Bakugo to kind of show off, but this was really cool when I watched it the first time.
I do. I love the fact that kind of going back and doing the rewatch, we get to see these big moves that we kind of take for granted in some way later on in the series when we see Ida even improve upon what he's doing here. You know, he'll team up with Shoto and other things and use other people's quirks to make his quirk better. As it's awesome. I forgot, you know, he first introduces the Reciprocal Burst here. And like everybody's reaction to it is always fun.
Does that, and he's like, tells him to hang on. So I don't know how fast he's moving, but they have to hang on to his shoulders and keep that formation. It's crazy.
I would think that they would, I mean, especially Shoto, because I don't know who's holding on to Shoto right there. It looks like he could fly off it like in a second. But he moves at like Mach 5. So they would be gone. Or the dust he picks up, like, I don't know, I feel like they would have to tie their hands onto him for them not to be like lost. I feel like no matter how hard your grip is, if he's moving that fast, you're not holding on.
It's just crazy to me that it worked. So, and this is the point when they get their points. They get the headband at this moment because of Ida's amazingness.
What's the thing that Kaminari is holding on to? I'm just guessing that's an insulation foam that's on his shoulder, so Kaminari can use his ability. Okay.
Yeah. But I like his face in this one too. The electric Kaminari's face. He's just like hanging on for dear life. Doesn't know what just happened.
Is he holding hands with Ida? Is that how that is? One hand, like they're holding hands. The other hand was on the shoulder.
Maybe he let go of the shoulder at that point.
Yeah, but he stays up there. So I'm guessing that's probably how they hold on, because also you can see that Momo's hand is off of the shoulder too. So clearly the speed is too fast for them to hold on, but Ida can clearly hold on too. Also, I realized over the course of these episodes how jacked Ida was, because him staying next to Deku, who we know is jacked, like Ida is huge. Looking like he's grabbing some cake. Who's grabbing cake? What? Oh,
like he's...
never mind.
And then it stalls out. I like that it's still like a real, like a car. Like it's like, okay, you blew out your engine.
Yeah. But it's in his leg. Like, I need to know how the plumbing works in his leg. You know, like what that looks like inside. Really good look.
We start getting some really good Deku faces and Todoroki faces in the next couple episodes. It's crazy.
Good Ida face too. Yeah, I think Creation Odyssey said, I admired him for challenging Deku, and I 100% agree. I think that was awesome that he did it. I think it's great that he challenged after seeing Shota do it, and then, we'll see in this string of episodes, Uraraka kind of regrets that she didn't challenge as well. So it's cool. But yeah, Ida steps up.
And it's kind of nice to put it in Bakugo's words. They're not extras anymore. They're actually stepping into like the real ring. So it works out.
Agreed.
And this is Deku. Like he's like, oh crap! I got to do my best now. I got to use one for all. I have to do something because they all trust me. Now we have 0. We're going to be losing. Now they're going to lose their chances. And so they kind of go into this final like last minute rush.
Yeah, before Ina uses the reciprocal burst, he says there's only a minute remaining. So this is like the last 30 seconds or something like that. And what a creative way to use one for all in this instance. Because in my mind's eye, I'm like, oh yeah, I know he uses it, and I know he grabs a headband and something like that. But it's like, does he just make his arm super fast or whatever? No, it's to wipe away.
It was hard to get a picture of that too because it was so clean.
Yeah.
The way they even did it, and it's Todoroki did not expect it at all either. He was because probably the energy coming off of his hand too.
Yeah, he clearly sees it. I don't think anybody else sees it, but Todoroki definitely sees it. There you go. This is the midpoint of the episode, right? Because it freeze framed on this. Yeah.
And it's just the point where he's also using the fire part, which he inadvertently did, subconsciously. Almost.
Yeah.
Actually,
he totally didn't even realize he was doing it until after the fact. But smart. I mean, it didn't help him anyway. I mean, his thinking helps him, but not the fire thing.
Bakugo's doing his last attempted ditch effort to get those points back too. Which you got to give the kid that, and they say it too, that he's on another level. He's not going to give up. He's
oh yeah, kid's driven.
Yeah. And this guy, I don't know if we ever see him again, but he got a splash screen anyway, and I was just I couldn't figure out what he was blowing at first. I thought it was bubble gum at first, and then until I saw the splash screen for solid air is his quirk. So he makes
What's
glass.
interesting is we see this kind of air quirk thing come up again from another person later on in the series, and it's interesting. It's a different way of using it. And we will see all of 1B again fairly soon. But yeah, it is funny. First time I saw it, I was like, wait, what is he doing? It's weird. He's stops on this giant pane of glass, it looks like.
It's just, and it's air, so it's gotta be his breath. It's solidified breath. And Bakugo is just oh, now I'm stuck here. And then I was like, well, can he go around it? Over the top? That's what my idea was, but no, because he's Bakugo. He's just gonna break through it.
Yep.
He got his little splash screen right there.
It's a good splash screen. Those are always, I love all of these splash screens. They always look so cool. I'm also a sucker for halftone look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bakugo he does not go around, ever. He's a go right kind of guy.
Yeah. But kudos to his team on this too, because what was he gonna do? Just fall on the ground with him?
He could have fired off more blasts to kind of just go up.
I don't think he had a plan at this point.
No.
It's the one of the things that he does. He's a full instinct. There's no thought process until after he's done. He realizes that was dumb. So it's crazy.
He is certainly that. Definitely no plan, all action kind of guy.
And then for Sero to be oh, and then Sero yells at him, if you're gonna jump, you gotta tell me so I know when to plan and do all that stuff. So it made me laugh too.
He won't. Doesn't matter how often Sero yells it. He wouldn't do it.
No. Just irritated. And then I freeze framed each one for their nicknames that Bakugo calls them after this, because now he's calling Kirishima. He's just bopping him on the head.
He just keeps hitting him too. It's just it's over and over again.
The noise. He's just so determined that he's just still going to get those 10 million points. He just moved to third place. Yeah, flat face kid.
Wait, so is flat face Mina or is flat face Sero? Because it's
Sero. Sarah.
So flat face, tape, those are both for Zero.
Yeah, because he lifts his leg for him to do a tape stream across as they
That's
get.
right. Because then, yeah, Mina hops on like kunais.
It's just, and then this is the part where like both All Might and Aizawa realize that he's doing this all instinctually. He knows their quirks now. He's like, okay, this is what you guys got to do. I got to do this again and get over there and use my power. There you go.
Yeah, I love that. Aizawa with the whole your difference in tenacity into consideration. Because, yeah, Bakugo is 110% go beyond fucking plus ultra tenacity to the 800th degree.
It's merciless.
Merciless.
Oh, that's right, because he takes the rest of their bands, too.
Oh, he wants them not to make it at all. Monomo slighted him, and that was it. Last straw.
And this is the part where the hand comes across. And I tried to catch it as much as I could, but he like moves the fire out of the way enough and pulls. I think Todoroki's hand goes back too with the mount of the air.
The whole hand, because it was here, and when Midoriya wipes it, the whole thing just goes. I think it like dangles in the air. Like so much force of air just blows it straight back.
So he's able to grab for one. Yeah, this is the best I could do on those.
It's enough, and this is when he recognizes, that he's using his flame side.
Yeah. And then I can't believe he turned him inside out while moving around either. Like
so smart. I think this was honestly the smartest move. Was this in conjunction with the replacement of the headbands that we'll see coming up? Because they grab what they think is the 10 million, it being the last one they got, so being the top.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like how she's the one that actually looks at it and it's like, wait a second, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so they move the headbands around.
I'm kind of shocked Momo says that though. Why not just don't say anything and just get the heck out of Dodge at that point? Because now you're at the point where you have to be escaping.
I think it's more for the audience too. It's an anime thing. So.
I know.
And then he's realizing they're still not good enough on the board, so they're still not going to make it. And so is Ochako. And then they have 9 seconds to get over there and get some more points. It's just kind of like they had screen flashes of just intensity as this is going on.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be this fun cavalry battle, and you have him screaming running around. You got the other ones just kind of figuring what's going on.
This is when he comes rushing in, and I love it because the time runs out before he can get there, and he just falls midair.
Yeah.
Kaminari's done.
Done. Just trying to revive. I like it too that Bakugo follows the rules enough, where he's like, "Oh, the bell, you're just gonna stop."
Creation Odyssey says, and I think she's referring to the headband switcheroo, reverse, all that stuff. I feel like it's Momo's idea. That 110% sounds like it would be Momo's idea. Of that group, Shoto did show a little bit of foresight in picking which members he had on his team. But when it comes to pure, skill on the battlefield, that is Momo 110%. Yeah.
And they're all coming at each other now.
I love that Bakugo's team is trying to rush into the background, trying to catch up with Bakugo who's flying through the air.
It's just so. And then he knows that he has the points now. He just realized that Deku doesn't have them anymore, so now he's even more mad.
Yep.
I can only imagine the escalating levels of just pissed off during this entire thing.
Hey, he must have shortened his lifespan with the amount of anger and stress he has over this stuff.
And then the time goes up. I think I got it when he fell. Did I get it? Yes.
Yep. Love it.
Didn't even try to catch him.
Oh, why would they catch him?
Yeah. And I think this is the part where they all think they know that they got first place because they got the 10 million points. They're kind of hanging out. And Deku thinks he lost. So cause I think they have the 79. And they were like, well, second place isn't bad. And I remember I think the next slide is them talking about Bakugo because he's pissed because second place is not going to be okay.
He said, not undeniably first. What was it? Undisputed first place. Yeah,
It's crazy. And then Shenzu's team is third place. And no,
I love that. Even President Mike thought that it was Tetsu, and then they're like, "Wait, huh? What? Team Shinso?" This is one.
it's when, yeah, I think Tokoyami's talking right now and kind of going through things, and he's talking about how great of a job he did and how it's okay, and Deku's like, why is it okay? And then he shows him that he got the other band.
Deku is pouting too until Ochako comes up and is just like pointing over at Tokoyami.
Oh, that's right.
I love that. I love her being like, why don't you look over here for a second? Because secret's out, kid. We helped out. I love this. Everything that happens between this and the end of this like arc and the start of the next one, it's like Deku's reactions to stuff. It's like a GIF set that I've been using over and over on Instagram and whatnot, because it's just like him crying uncontrollably and just like so grateful.
I like it that Dark Shadow had it in his mouth too.
Yeah.
He flips it up. They made it to 4. Yeah, this is like the waiting for it, and then it just like.
Yep, and then it's just pure.
Like pushes himself into the ground.
I love it. It's just this is the kind of like the gags that they put in this series that like just make it so enjoyable, because it's so over the top ridiculous, and it's one of my favorite moments of this episode.
And I think the next one is like Ochako, and it's still like crying, like there's tears in the air, and she's like keeps like trying to wipe herself off and like just trying to be happy for him. It made me laugh.
I love that his raining tears sprinkle down like glitter in the sky. Like it's a beautiful moment, but no, it's just him crying like uncontrollably and just being absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, and then Todoroki's starting to get like, we're getting a little bit more about his character too. So he's very upset with himself that he used his left side.
Yeah. President Mike and the Racerhead go out for lunch.
Yeah, they break for lunch before the next thing. I think he's going to sleep. That's what it is. And they don't know what happened, so they're trying to figure out why they don't have what they had. They stole. I think I had a frame when they stole somebody else's points.
We do learn that I forget the Vine girl's name. I don't know if you have it. Yeah, there you go. This is how Mineta loses his points. Her vines just like sneak in there and steal them.
I like how she calls Mineta the small one, like he's something precious.
Boy, buddy, does she need to get to know Mineta a little bit better? Dan is like, Aoyama is the one that twinkles. He's all upset that Midoriya's raining tears were twinkling.
Oh.
The Vine Girl is pretty cool. I wish we could see more of her. You will. Everybody comes back. Don't worry. His arms together with the eyes in the back of his head is also a very smart thing. How he did not see the vine kind of come, though, I don't understand.
It was just not really... it was pretty sneaky. It was only one, so it was like maybe something he was looking for a person versus...
Well, I mean, the eyes are looking up and then looking down, so yeah. Maybe like the eyes saw them kind of go by, but weren't like paying attention to her vines staying out of their eyesight or something. But also his arms together like that look like on Sesame Street. There's these like meat monster aliens, and doesn't it look like the meat aliens? But like also a clam. Well, there you go. It's Sleep with Giants. James is saying that looks lewd. It totally does look lewd. I agree with you.
Oh, then they're kind of going over. They like congratulated Mina, and she's kind of feeling kind of out of sorts because she doesn't think that she probably deserves it so much because she didn't really think she helped. Because she's like, Baku only let me come because we knew for this quirk ability, but he already has a nickname for her. It'll be okay.
Yeah, I think he gives her another one too. I think he says something about her horns at some point.
Yeah. I like this one too because she's running in place, so I couldn't get it like cute enough for her little steam thing, trying to imitate him.
It's great. I love the little sight gags are such like good little moments.
Mm-hmm. But I also, oh, because it says that was fun, but he's just saying it, yay, yay. I think.
Yep. That's how we're ending the episode, right?
I didn't get it frame by frame, which I wish I did because it's a great dialogue. Like this is actually like not so fun like talk. It's not like just like here it is, just some kids talking. This is like a real character developing actual talk. Kind of like the Bakugo Midoriya one. Now they get to have this one with him and Todoroki's kind of.
This is one of my favorite moments, and then their battle that will happen. Those two episodes where we learn a lot more about Shoto's backstory, and then Deku bringing his life experience into kind of helping Shoto out and stuff like that. It's just like it's a great personable backstory and like side to the show that like really kind of hammers home. It's not just super heroics and quirks and splashy stuff everywhere. There's some deep stuff happening, and these kids are affected by things that happen in their life. Is this still part of episode 18?
I think that they just, I believe this is like the last little bit of it because I think Shoto and Midoriya are just staring at each other right now in that hallway area. Yep. And this is All Might seeing Endeavor and just saying, hey, like, he's assuming it's somebody he's long time no see. They're going to catch up like regular heroes do. And Endeavor is just like, no.
Endeavor hates All Might being on Believe.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
For the next episode.
So, favorite moment of episode 18?
It's Ida move. I'm gonna tell you because like you have a lot of shows, a lot of animes. You get like two characters maybe that you really get to follow arcs and kind of go through stuff. Yeah. If you get your like basics, you might have a favorite one in an anime. This series just surprised me beyond belief because you can have 4 or 5 characters and 6 and 10. And all of them are amazing in their own little ways. So it was nice to see that pop up there and be like, oh, they are going to do something with this character.
I think that was around the time, and then subsequently we'll learn about Shoto in the next episode. It's like, oh, we're going deep into these characters. Like you said, it's not just going to be the Midoriya Bakugo show with other people. Like, oh, no, okay, we're learning more about everybody else. And everybody else has, deep stuff. And we'll even learn more about Ida in this arc and his family and stuff like that. So it's cool that we'll kind of get to explore that. So yeah, it was a cool moment. For me, I will give a runner-up of best moment to Uraraka imitating Ida at the end because that was one of my favorite things. It made me actually laugh out loud pretty good. But my favorite moment is Bakugo actually shouting his leadership skills at everybody, be like, you do this, and using everybody's abilities that he had on his team in conjunction in a way to get them all of those points. It's just like, oh, hey, we're seeing that Bakugo isn't just a hothead. Oh, okay, he can actually think and plan and do that stuff too. He might not do it the nicest way that it kind of invites everybody to like, hey, I want to be on Bakugo's team. Yeah. I love getting yelled at, but he definitely shows off like, a twinkling of leadership here. Sorry, Dan, to use the word twinkling and not be talking about Aoyama. That'll happen soon, though. Because I have a favorite moment in another episode coming up that involves Twinkle Boy. It's not this one.
No.
All right, so let's roll right into, unless you guys in the chat, if you guys have favorite moments from this episode, hit them up and we'll read them out as it kind of goes along. And I know Creation Odyssey and Christy both are asking about Class B figures, and those would be great. I would love to see them. There's a couple of kids in Class B that I think would make great figures. Tetsu being one. Kendo is the girl with the big fists. I think she would be great. Yeah. Monoma would be tough, but I think he'd be a good figure if you could have him come with a bunch of stuff. So anyway, episode 19. The boy born with everything.
I always thought about like this this name of what this title is and who it actually is in reference to. So I thought it was maybe Shoto, but I don't think so. Actually, after watching the episode,
I think on its surface, I think it's supposed to be you as the audience. You're like, oh, it's going to be Shoto because he's the boy with everything. He's growing up under the number 2 hero. He has ice powers and fire powers and all that stuff. But he even says, and he thinks that Midoriya is the boy born with everything.
yeah,
Yes.
that seems to be a running theme with these episodes too.
Yeah.
Later on, a lot of characters are looking at Midoriya the way he looked at Bakugo.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they have a break for lunch for afternoon festivities, which I thought was very humorous because it's very school oriented. They're going to have these scavenger hunts and random activities just so they can still show off their quirks and have fun.
Yep.
So not everybody's going to be a loser for like the next round. But I think this is later on with the cheerleading is coming up soon.
That is during this, for sure. Creation Odyssey said that the best moment of last episode was Bakugo's faceplant. And I did really like that too. Because that's such a good moment. It's like, he's so heated until it just ends and he's like, well, that's it. I guess I didn't get first place.
Oh, this is more Midoriya trying to like exit this conversation because he's so intimidated, which I always found very amusing because Shoto has shown nothing to make him think that he's going to be super intimidating or mean or anything like that. But just the fact that they're in this like hallway talking, Midoriya's like, I don't know what you're going to do to me. He goes into that like flight mode that he did with Bakugo. Like,
And he's so. I think Midoriya also sees Shoto as being so gifted, right? And like he's clearly he has everything, right? Like this is Midoriya thinking like this kid is so OP, he's overpowered. Yeah. He seems to know what he's doing. He has battle skills, all this stuff, and he has such an intimidating look to him. Like we saw him with this like shadow kind of half cutting like across his scar and everything like that too. It's a very intimidating look, and I think Midoriya is just feeling that right now.
Yeah, it's different from Kacchan. It's like because Kacchan's definitely not cold about anything.
Yep.
I can't remember what he's like naming it all off of. I think this is Midoriya talking about how he's excited that they're all moving on, but I can't remember. I didn't write down notes for this whole entire conversation, and I should have.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I actually thought this was Shoto talking about everybody. I don't know. Maybe we'll key it in as we keep going.
Yeah. Oh, and this is when he starts talking about when Midoriya hid away the fire in his hand during the cavalry battle, how it reminded him of the moment when All Might powered up and was fighting the villains at the USJ.
Yep.
He was the only one that could really feel it all that time because everybody else kept getting blown farther and farther back. And he was like, I was up close. I know what that feels like. So this was actually very logical in his mind. And he's trying to figure out what the connection is between Midoriya and All Might. And so his only experience with connections when it comes to relationship with powers is the whole
arranged marriage thing.
Yeah, what do they call it? I don't remember. I think it's like quirk dating. I don't remember what the exact term was.
I forget what the exact thing is. Like, yeah, it's something like that. It's basically arranged marriage based on quirks.
Yeah. And so he assumes that All Might or Midoriya is the illegitimate son of All Might at some point down the road.
Secret love child is what I have written in quotes, which, no lie, is him just saying that and Midoriya's reaction to it. Already going to tell you now, that's my moment of the episode. I love it.
Yeah, secret love child or something. Like, that is his, he's so
serious. He's so serious about it. It's like, Jenna, like, are you all my secret love child?
They're just like,
what?
And he's like, you pulled me over here to ask me that? And then, like, I can only imagine poor Midoriya is like, is he going to tell somebody that? Is it All Might's reputation going to be ruined? Like, he's just thinking about everything else that could probably occur from this random comment that's happening.
But also, you also imagine like how much he would be like, man, how great would it be if All Might was my dad?
Yeah. A little bit of everything put together. And then he starts going on about his story, about how Endeavor's his old man, and he's kind of like talks about powers. Because his whole world is consumed by the fact that his parents both had really powerful powers, and then they came together in arranged marriage so they could create an even more powerful hero.
Yep. And that's what we split. Like, it's funny that we're getting the dichotomy of kind of the children of these two, even though Midoriya is not All Might's secret love child, even though Shoto thinks he is. But it really is the next generation of these two facing off, as we're getting the pro counterparts also facing off. We ask him to tea. He's like, what a joke. I love it. I love how much Endeavor hates All Might. It's amazing.
I actually found it refreshing when I first watched it because I was thinking that everybody loved him, and like
Yeah.
if there's heroes out there that maybe just didn't find him as cool as everybody else did.
Oh yeah, it makes him really realistic in a lot of ways. And I mean, we get a little bit of it from the villain side. You know, all the villains want to kill him because they're like, he's the big face, right? He's the one to take down. But it's great to know that the person directly under him in the power rankings is like, I hate that guy. And it's kind of like Bakugo and Midoriya in that rivalry kind of way.
Yeah.
But you kind of get a little bit more from this interaction in this episode that Endeavor kind of hates All Might a little bit more than even Bakugo hates Midoriya.
Yeah. And it's like even Aizawa will make fun of All Might for being like not on time and like not as presentable as he needs to be, and like you're supposed to be better than this, and like teasing him for being the best and still not being as perfect. Where Endeavor just sees him as there's something in his way and he can't get past. Doesn't know why.
It's that hurdle he can't jump, and exactly, you just nailed it. It's that hurdle he can't jump, but he has no idea how to attempt it.
But he has like the coolest character design. I love the fire like on the beard and everything else. Like it's really, really cool.
I was not expecting what Endeavor looked like with all that power turned off. Like I was expecting all the flames to be hair, except for around his eyes. You know, that's clearly a flame mask or something. But like, I don't know, I expected a full beard, and clearly that's a shitty mustache. Let's be honest here. That is the dirty, like, just I can just grow a little bit here and a little bit here. But I expected so much more, but he has none of that. It's just like maybe 5 o'clock shadow. So he just has a flame beard. That's it. But it's so cool.
Yeah. It's just the way, like, even with the animation with him walking and stuff, I just thought it was so neat to have real fire for your costume.
It's one of those things that make me worry about figures of this guy because, like, I know we're toy collectors, so I'm just going to go into it a little bit. But I always like fake flames don't ever look right to me, and it's just like I'm worried about. I really want a cool figure of him. I want the Revoltech version of what they're doing with All Might, but for Endeavor. But I don't think the flames are going to look as good as I'd hope. But I don't know. I still want a toy of them, but it's a tough thing to pull off.
I would hope they have like interchangeable pieces for like to do different effects and movement and stuff. That's the best way. The Banpresto looks cool though. They have one for him. Yeah,
I mean, it looks cool. It looks really good. It does, it looks, it's solid. It's not translucent. I feel like if you did it, it kind of has to be a translucent feature, and which means then you have to sculpt the full face underneath it too. So it's a real tough thing to kind of pull off in 3D. But yeah, the Banpresto does look really good. I want a more action Banpresto though of him. Like,
not just crosswords and pissed off.
I mean, I want that one too, for sure, because he's just there with his arms crossed and whatnot. It looks great. But I do want him doing some of his moves.
Shoto's explanation of Endeavor and like his idea of how his dad is in this entire speech is very aware for a child who's only supposed to be like 13 or 14. I don't know how old they actually are, but it's just like 14, the way he speaks about him and the way he talks about how his upbringing occurred and how much he hates it too. It's very, very adult, which is.
I think, due to the nature of the circumstances that Shoto was raised in, I do think that kind of thing ages you faster because you don't get to have a childhood, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of forced into whatever your parents at that point or your father has kind of set out for you and was forcing you to do. So therefore, your off-spent time isn't dedicated to the whims and fantasies of youth. It's more seeing what this situation is and why other kids aren't treated the same way or seeing this. So you kind of have to think as an adult, but as a child. So I kind of see that being the way how Shoto sees his dad is because he's kind of forced to have to kind of like, I have to understand my own situation by seeing this situation from my dad's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Which is a horrible perspective.
Oh yeah, it is. He is, and he refers to him in later episodes as his masterpiece. Like he is just a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Endeavor sees him as just a tool at this point. It's sad.
Oh, and this is where they started talking about the Quark arranged marriages, about you choose a wife or husband based on the characteristics of the Quark, not on the person.
Yeah.
And so he talks about how Endeavor, at this time being the second greatest hero, had a lot of money and resources and time, and he was on a mission, obviously, to create his masterpiece. So he went out and tried to find the ultimate Quark to fuse with his fire powers and everything.
I'm going the wrong way. I'm sorry.
And I think this is when Shoto starts talking about how frustrating it is. Just that his mom didn't have a choice, and like just all this other information that going on about all this arranged marriage that Deku probably had no idea about. His parents got married just because they needed to get married, and I'm sure Bakugos were the same way. So it's just kind of.
Yeah, I think you can clearly tell this is Deku's first time hearing about this, but this does totally sound like a
upper class.
Thank you. I was going to say first class. I was like, yeah, upper class sounds better.
Yeah.
Upper class kind of thing where it's just like in this quirk society. Oh, hey, how do I stay ahead? Well, you got to stay ahead by being competitive. How do you stay competitive? Oh, keep your quirk the best and most pristine it can be by mating with the perfect mate kind of thing. And it's like, it's that kind of gross mentality that like breeds, this mistreatment of childhood that we get. I want to go back just a second because in the chat, James is asking about a green Cyclops blob, and I'm guessing he's talking about this scene. Nope, I don't see a green Cyclops blob. Maybe not. Okay, all right, never mind. We'll keep moving. Hey, my monster. What am I got in the end of that? Put back a couple scenes. Nope. It has to be the cafeteria scene, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not seeing.
On the right by Birdman's head.
On the right by Birdman's head? What? Where? Oh, wow, I see it. It's right here. I'll use my mouse. It's this.
Oh.
This eyeball. Wow. Okay, that's a potato with an eye. Beautifully animated too. I love this drawing of Shoto.
Mm-hmm. It's just it captures so much more than just him just talking normally about the same subject matter. They do a really good job of showing the emotion and showing it over the top and how he talks and what's going on. I think later on in a couple episodes when he gets really mad, the faces and the way they created it was perfect.
Yeah. And I got to give big old props to Studio Bones for being able to do the bombast action, all that kind of crazy stuff like we saw with the race in the beginning of this sports festival. And we saw Shoto kind of like showing off these amazing abilities and yet also being able to just animate the crap out of like even just these really like just emotionally pivotal scenes and just like make them compelling to watch by very small, expression changes and things like that. It's just it's so good.
Yeah. And this is, I believe, his mother talking. Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, this is the part where it got really serious. Like, it's really, I thought it was like a cool character design. Like, it's really awesome. And you kind of find out that his mother had a little bit of an incident where she couldn't take it anymore
Yeah.
and basically scarred her own son because she can't stand
Does he say exactly what happened yet, or does that
I
happen?
think they show images of it. I just didn't get them all because it was going so fast with him
Yeah.
talking. And it's just like, she talks about it a little bit, like going over it. But I just
Yeah,
remember
she was making tea when he
Oh.
was like listening to her talk to her mother, it seemed like, I think at the time,
Well,
about Shoto. And like she says, like, I can't stand to, like, she's like talking about him, and then she's like, but I can't stand to look at him sometimes because his left side just reminds me of him. And then she turns around and sees Shoto, she's seeing that he's listening in, that he's in the room,
yeah.
and she, like, I think she just drops the phone or something like that and takes the tea water that has been boiling on the stove and just dumps it on his face and like burns that side of him.
Mhm.
It's devastating, absolutely devastating. And the crazy thing to me is like, for a character like Shoto, you would think that he would hold resentment towards his mom seeing him as his dad, right?
Mhm.
But no, he completely holds resentment for his father. Like, it's all against his dad pretty much because he knows where it's stemming from. And this is goes to in part with what you were saying about him being a little bit more adult and acting a little bit more adult. Like that is definitely more of an adult way of thinking. It's like she's reacting to something that happened to her. So you don't hold her accountable for that. You hold the person that basically perverted her way of thinking accountable for that.
And I'm assuming after we learn a little bit more about his upbringing and that incident happening, that he spends more time with his dad, which probably shows Endeavor's character and gives him more thought process to think, okay, this guy is not cool whatsoever, and gives him more fuel for this entire emotion.
Yeah. This when we find out that Katsuki is listening in to all of this and like him reacting in a serious manner, right? He's not looking angry. He's not looking happy. He's just as distraught as Midoriya is hearing this face to face. But Bakugo's hearing it because he thought he was just like listening in to see what was, what's this loser going to say? What's this half and half bastard saying to damn Deku? And he's just like, oh damn, this shit's serious, kind of thing. Like this is a messed up whole situation. It really adds a really nice layer on top of the whole story going forward. Like, God, I want to talk about season 5 and season 6 stuff, but a lot of this stuff will come back around again, and it's just like it's amazing.
It's kind of nice to know that Todoroki's not mad all the time, and Bakugo's kind of realizing is like he has a reason to be mad, just freaking out all the time. Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's literally. I mean, these are kids. They're all listening to all this stuff happening, and Deku and Bakugo grew up in the same environment, just one with quirk and one without. And so his parents are probably great at home too, and he can't imagine anything like this happening to somebody. So, yeah. And then Corey leaves him speechless. He doesn't even know what to say.
What can you say to that? I mean, like, I'm often confronted with that too. Like, terrible things happen to people all the time. And it's horrible. It's one of the things about the world that I hate. But, like, I want to be there for everybody that, like, loses a loved one or stuff like that. But I don't know what to say. And but you want to. You want to say the right thing. You want to be, like, that perfect retort, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know. And I felt so kindred with Midoriya in this 1 second.
And I think he goes out there to talk to him, and because basically Todoroki tells him, "You have everything. You're the boy that was given a super cool quirk. You have like all these people supporting you." And he's trying to tell him it's not because of my quirk. I believe that he starts telling him I'm here because of the people who have supported me. And he even goes as far as like talking. I don't think he tells Todoroki this, but he's like, "You have the backstory of an actual main character," and it's just like, but
yeah,
Yeah. Thinking.
And I want to bring up some of the stuff happening in the chat because there's some great conversations happening. Dan says, like, I'm surprised Todoroki isn't more fucked up of a human. Completely agree, because he expunges on that and says that he has the pain, but people with those kind of backstories typically create villains. And yeah, that's kind of what makes it kind of incredible that Todoroki is trying to be, almost in a sense, what his father wants, but in spite of his father. Like, he wants to be the best hero he can be, but not for his dad. He wants to do it without using what his dad has given him naturally. And James says, I love how everyone just wants to be good, God damn it. Creation honestly says, I need to see Todoroki laugh at least once. Very good point. Does he not laugh in season 4? I felt like he does something really kind of like cheerful, and people are like, this is weird in a way.
I think he just smiles. I don't think he ever like laughs out loud. Yeah. It would be adorable, I'm assuming. But
I know there's a moment in this season coming up where Todoroki says something that I swear he says is so earnest, but Ida and Midoriya, because they're in the room, they are like, oh my god, wait, what? And that's like the most hilarious thing you've ever said, talking about the destroyer of such and such. I don't want to go into it too much. But yeah, so it's just powerful. What a good scene. We go back.
Yeah, watching all these stuff and how he really, I mean, Midoriya's been through a lot himself. He knows it, and he's not going to say, he's like, I can't lose either. I'm not going to step aside just because your backstory is sadder than mine. And that part also needed to be heard by Bakugo, because Bakugo has the same thing. I mean, he's not going to step aside either, and I think he does find that point as well.
And the funniest thing, though, is like, you know, we haven't met Bakugo's parents yet, but when we do, it shocked the hell out of me. Because they're like the most loving parents in the world, and it's just like, you don't have a sad backstory. What's your like? What? Why are you so angry all the time? Like, what is this? It's just, you thought you were going to be the best from the get go, and you're kind of learning. Oh, hey, wait, I guess I can't be number one in all things. That's your story. Like, come on, dude, chill out just a little bit.
There's no chilling out. Yeah. And this is they start the regular little, I don't even know what to call them. Just some extra games for everything going on. And all the girls from class A showed up in cheerleading outfits. And you find out that it was a very mean prank.
I mean, you know, kind of bring it back to high school.
Yeah. And I love how Momo made the outfits and everything. They have to go do something the next round. Like, a lot of those, 3 of those girls are going to be doing, like, the fighting. And they, let's have a side story right now.
Yep. Momo being one of those that has to do, you know, let's do that. It's so ridiculous. What noses they gave all the girls, the cheerleaders from America.
Yep.
I did not notice that until this screenshot. I'm like, why are they all like have crazy noses going everywhere? Right, they flew in like American cheerleaders specifically for this event.
Yeah. To do a cheer battle, so I don't know what that means. I like how Jiro's like surprised because Minetta's talking about how they need to be part of that cheer battle and how that's part of it. And he was like, oh, Aizawa's agenda or something like that. And you guys just must not have seen it. What kind of class rep are you, Momo? Like, going off on it.
I do think that everybody at this stage of the game is still trying to, you know, look the best they can to their teachers. So I think the girls at this point, like when they think that they missed something, they're feeling like, oh crap, like I don't know, maybe it's not as demeaning as we think it is, kind of thing. Like, let's just do it, but we don't want Aizawa to think less of us as, you know, students for this, which is kind of crazy, but
yeah. And I like how little Toru is like super excited about it anyways, even though she's not invisible now, so it's perfect.
Yep. Well, it's because her top's not off.
Yeah. So they go over the 4 teams that made it too for this point. You kind of get to see everybody that's on these ones. I tried to screenshot it and save it, but I think it's like just a bunch of the same sentence.
Yeah, it's all good. We get to kind of go through all the teams, which, everybody gets their individual time in the sun. Here's the brackets.
And then poor Ojiro withdraws. And rightly so, I think, in his mind. Because
In his mind, I mean, I think honestly, in that position, if I were even Midoriya or somebody on the field, I would have convinced him to stay in. Granted, it wasn't by his own ability that he got there, but we don't know. So why take yourself completely out of it? You know, like he could have maybe gotten in there. Nope. Sorry, I went back.
And he's kind of talking about not remembering anything from the cavalry battle, because that's the whole thing, is that Shinzo's team won, but no one knows why or how, or it's like a mystery at this point. And so they all like pinpoint him out in the crowd, basically. I like to basically call him out during this next few sequences on everything going on.
Oh yeah, I like that too. It's like, also, I mean, I'm having this big emotional moment, but why are you guys dressed up as cheerleaders? Like, what's happening? So good.
And then he wants to withdraw too, because he doesn't understand what's going on either. We didn't get to see his powers either. I was excited to see what he did.
You'll see it in season 5. Oh, I love Kirishima. It's just like, what's with these guys? It's so manly.
Yeah, he's just so excited about it. I like that Bakugo and Shoto both look like what they're bored at this point in time. Like, just let's keep going.
Yeah, like, can we just get on with it, please?
Yeah. And she's about as bad as Kirishima. Like, anything about youth and being like enthusiastic about things, she gets super excited over too. So it was super. Midnight was very, very cool for the judge and everything going on.
She has some great moments in this entire sports festival
Mm-hmm.
because of this. I want to bring up Creation Odyssey, going back to the cheerleader outfit thing. She says, I love how Momo just accepts what he's telling her. Like, I would have been, no, that's not a thing, you tiny pervert. And I think, like, when she comes out in the cheerleading outfit and realizes that Mineta got her, I think he even says something like, why am I always the victim of Mineta's, like, schemes? Like, why is it always me? And I love that.
I think it's because it always works. So.
But I think that was the last straw. I think that's like the last time it works. I think like that's what she kind of picks up on. Mineta, never trust Mineta. You know, it takes a while to learn your classmates when you first get to know them, and they probably know them for like what, maybe like 4 weeks at this point.
Yeah.
So not that much.
I like how he's like, oh, I was like, I'm not withdrawing, guys. No, I'm gonna stick with it. So
I actually think this says a lot more about Dan, the articulator in our show, than Aoyama. The fact that, you know, Aoyama stays in, and that's Dan's favorite character. I'm not going to say anything more than that. I just think that says a little bit about Dan's character. That's all.
And so they're gonna talk about what team that can replace those two parties and everything that was going on. And so I think they still had points. Kendo's team still had points at this time, is why they were talking to them at all.
Kendo was number 5. Like, what was it? The top 4 teams that got picked, right?
Yeah,
Kendo's team came in at number 5. But I forget what happened to Tetsu's team. I think that like, they just got it stolen at the very end. Something like that.
Shinzo took it from them. I don't remember how, though, but he got their points. And so this really showed a lot too, because I like Kendo a lot. Her character to me grows on me the most.
Yeah.
Of this thing, and there's like a couple moments in here because she looks very plain, and her powers are like. I was thinking Kendo, she had like martial arts powers, like going on about that. But
yeah, she's Miss Marvel pretty much. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Avengers.
And so this part made me feel better that they passed it on to the other team because they knew that they deserved it.
Yep. I love that. Like, it was such a really nice moment that they give it to these guys, and then but only 2 of these 4 get to make it, and we don't even spend any time watching the deliberations or anything like that. It just goes straight to the Ivy Girl and Tetsu, which is just awesome. So like, you know, they must have like a better camaraderie than some of Class 1A. You know, to kind of like it to boil down like that. I think that has a lot to do with Kendo, actually, because she is the Ida of Class 1B. She's like the representative.
Like how he's crying because he's just like, Hiroshima, they do so much.
Yeah. because they're facing off first against each other. That's what this is about.
Yeah. Oh.
After just watching this battle, like right before this episode, I feel bad right now.
I remember watching this the first time and being like, that seems like a crazy pairing.
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy battle. Well, the thing is with Momo is like she can create anything, anything she wants. So had she had like known enough about Tokiyami, she could have created like floodlights and all this other stuff. But she didn't have that knowledge going in. But yeah, she's very overpowered, I think, as a character. But I love the fact that they gave her, human characteristics. Like she's actually a human. Like she feels pressure and stress and all that stuff, and that plays into everything. Love this.
I like how Yama's like, "Oh, Mercy, you get to fight me," and she's like, "You mean too lucky?"
And I love that she just stretches because like this whole screen, like she actually moves him up on the screen to be this like tiny little compressed little annoying bar at the top. I thought it was great.
And then like Todoroki and Midoriya at this time are both trying to figure out when they're going to fight each other, and then they both realize, wait, I have to fight another person first.
Yeah, but for Todoroki at least, not a big deal. Poor Shiro. But Midoriya gets to fight against the unknown.
Yeah.
I like this. What happens here? This little exchange. Because I think he's hoping to like lock it in early kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Ojiro saves the day.
Yeah. He's just not going to have it this time.
No, I think he's like, don't worry. I'll get him. It's all good. I love Shinso. More Shinso. Always.
I do like that you're right. Like Midoriya is kind of like their leader of the pack because Ojiro like stepped up. He's like, "No, this is not going to happen to you." So I bet you if Bakugo, he would have let him do it.
Oh, 100%. He would have let Bakugo just step in and be like, "Yeah, figure your own way out of this."
Yeah.
I said annoying bar at the top when I got press up there, and Dan's like, "Annoying bar." Yes. I like that. Yeah, he already sees his path to Midoriya.
Oh. Just and like usually he's like screaming something or he's like kind of angry when he talks. Like this was super monotone. Uraraka. Like he's like confused on even who that exists.
He has no idea who that is. None.
So, then her reaction, like, oh my gosh. Like she was like shaking, like freaking out, and that made me laugh out loud too. Her reactions in the last few episodes have been really good too. Like her facial expressions.
This whole 4-episode stretch, Uraraka has like some of the best just like facial expressions. We see her go from, innocent and happy to confident and stern and like contemplative. Like we get to see the full range. This is really Uraraka's like stretch of episodes. So good.
Speaking of twinkling, this one.
Yeah. So we get a little bit of the fun.
Like how Jiro's just like not having it.
She's not that type. She's not the type that wants to like jump around and have a blast. She's not fighting either. I mean, she could have done it, but. I love this whole segment with.
Yeah. He's like. I just like.
I like that laugh.
I didn't understand what she was. I thought it was going to say something meaner, like him being an a-hole or something, and then just like.
I think she's got to be kind to her classmates too. I think there's things that she would love to say to Monomo, but doesn't. She does physically abuse them. What?
If you notice in the next frame, like he's like wrapped up, so like it's on his clothes, so his skin doesn't touch her, because she doesn't want him copying him. She's like,
but his arms, like they're wearing short sleeves.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she had him like wrapped around. I was like, oh, that's perfect.
He's definitely touching her, but you know, I don't think he wants to come. I think I think of all the times that like he does clearly pain Kendo a lot, but I do think he kind of holds her in high regard in a way too. Even though she beats the crap out of him, as we'll see over the course of the seasons and whatnot. But he never fights back, and he could. He could steal anyone's power to fight back, but he never does.
These random games. I didn't know what this little guy was either on the far right.
Yeah, I have no idea. No idea.
I like how Midoriya is in thinking mode because like it looks like he's stressed out, but that's just like the way he thinks. Like that, the muttering eyes. That's like the full. He's listening. He's absorbing and trying to figure this all out.
Yep, I love his mutter mode.
I like that they're all different prep strategies. I think Bakugo was staring at the wall in one of the pictures.
I think he's contemplating things. I know that. He's probably trying to figure out who Araraka is.
Yeah, he's probably trying to figure out what's going on. This was really cool that they just poured the liquid concrete down and let Cementos got to make it into like while they're doing things. It was really cool.
Does Cementos gets his card here, right?
I think maybe not. No, he had it before. I think he had it in the USJ.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I love he always yells, "Are you ready?" And the things that President Mike yells in English, I always like have those words stuck in my head. It's great. Hey.
This reminded me of like Captain Planet when I was reading it. I was like, okay.
Totally. I think he's like, you figured out one for all, right? You got this.
Oh,
Good luck.
this whole exchange made me laugh. I was like, okay, let's go be even more pressure on him.
Yep.
He's like, I'm trying. It's been like 2 days.
Yeah, you're giving me like 2 days, 2 hours, whatever it is. You're not giving me nearly enough time, but I'm trying my best here. But he's legitimately like, I feel like it's gonna fall apart. Like he's expressing his stress about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is like the very first time he tells him the actual percentage he should be using. He doesn't say it before this, but he's like, oh yeah, you could probably handle 5% of your power. Maybe tell him that before he uses 100% and blows out both of his legs and arms. I don't know. Just a thought.
So it's like his thought process does not go from like more than just what's happening right at that moment. He gets his dues later though, that like the nurse lady like lets him have it.
I want to apologize real quick for the delay that I get in the chat because I'm running the stream, so I get the chat window in the stream window. So I get a little bit of a delay, but Creation Odyssey says regarding Monoma and Kendo, how she thinks that Monoma knows better than to copy Kendo, and I think that's exactly it. I think if he did copy her, she would really let him have it, like to a degree that he would regret seriously.
Oh, that's right. He karate chops him right before he goes out there to fight too.
Yep.
You prince of nonsense.
I love he's like the Prince of Nonsense. It's so good. What a good line for Midoriya.
Oh, and he didn't tells him to deal with everything smiling, just to try to push that All Might like image on.
He has to realize. I mean, I think he slowly comes to realize it. Midoriya is not Toshi. He is his own person. He has to go about it his own way. He'll become the greatest hero, maybe not by smiling through everything, because Midoriya has the creepiest nervous smile. Well, yeah, let's get right into episode 20. We get the beginning of this here. I love that that's the picture that they're using for Midoriya.
I think there's another one that was pretty funny.
We learned about the.
I like how they like force your opponent out of bounds or immobilize them or like basically knock them out.
Yeah, and they're like, go as hard as you want because we have Recovery Girl on site. It's fine. But then they're like, heroes should only use their fists to cast villains. But they're telling them to also beat the snot out of one another. So I don't know how true that is.
Unless Cementos thinks it's too much, and then he'll stop it. Oh, I missed the whole thing where he makes fun of him and calls him the monkey boy.
Yeah, he makes fun of Ojiro, and that really hits home to Midoriya. Because Midoriya just saw Ojiro, step up and really kind of like feel this sense of pride, and like how his pride was hurt in a way that he didn't get to make it to where he got to on his own steam. So he takes, Midoriya is a very emotional kid. He takes that kind of thing to heart. So, and I honestly don't believe Shinso honestly believes half the stuff that he's saying.
No.
He's saying it to get a rise, to get Midoriya to respond, to then he could use his quirk. And boom, we get that classic anime, top down, just the eyes with the fish-eye lens. Crap's about to happen. Scene. And Ojiro's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, just like freaking out. You got Aoyama creeping in the background just for Dan. And then everybody kind of gets stunned at this point in time. But I think this is the Deku face for the whole couple episodes.
Yeah, I think this is how it ends, right? It ends with him getting frozen.
Yeah. Oh, this is the start of the next one.
Okay. So we'll leave it on that. And favorite moment? It's a tough episode to pick a favorite moment, right?
Yeah. I'll go with Uruka's reaction to Bakugo finding out that they're going to fight each other. Because, like, literally, I laughed really. I had to pause it and stop because I was like, oh, I forgot that her reaction was, like, complete terror, not anything that was going to be.
It's great. Because, I think that's exactly it. Like, she has her own ideas about fighting Bakugo. She clearly knows who Bakugo is. And she's like, oh, I don't want to fight him. Or she'll fight anybody. She's hero in training. But, nervous about it. And then when she learns that he doesn't know who she is, it's like, wait, we sit next to each other in class, kind of thing.
I know. They fought each other in that one battle, and she was partners with Deku. So it's kind of like one of those things.
But he has tunnel vision in such a way that he only sees Deku sometimes. It's like, it's bad.
He only sees people that he really realistically are in his way. Like, things that matter to him. Like, he doesn't like everybody around, which like we'll find out later when he starts rescuing people. He doesn't even care what they are. He calls them like old man A or old man B. I can't remember what it was. So it worked.
He just has to do
Do you have a favorite moment?
My favorite, it's definitely the Shoto confronting Deku scene. And I think my favorite moment of that is the humorous bit, just because it kind of made me laugh when he says, what are you, all my secret love child? But it really is the whole us learning a lot about Shoto's backstory and like the emotional weight that Shoto carries with him from the point A to where we see him now. And, because that is basically him talking about his start line and where we'll see him then grow from that point.
Yeah, I remember when I first watched these episodes thinking, oh, he's not just some overpowered pretty boy. There's actually something there. So
there's a lot of something there. Yeah. And I love that this whole arc, this whole sports festival makes a big, serious change in Shoto as a character. Like, he will run off to do something at the end of this, and it is great. Like, we see all of this stuff affect him. And I love when we see, like, big emotional moments, because he lets it all out there on the table, which he kind of says in a way that, like, it almost, granted, he does pull Deku aside and he tells him 1-1, but it almost, he says in a way where it's not, like, the biggest secret. He's like, quirk marriage. That was my microphone. Sorry if there's going to be weird noise, guys. I got to retrieve my microphone. Because apparently I slapped it over the side. There we go. So that's it. It's cool. I'm glad. Yeah. I like getting that backstory. How about everybody in the chat? I'm going to guess that Dan's has to be something to do with Aoyama.
I don't know if he was really in this episode too much besides getting squished by Mina.
He was in there. He was also, I think, his best moment, because now we have to have Aoyama best moments, is when he's like patting Ojiro on the shoulder, being like, Don't worry. I'll stay in. I'll keep fighting. Prick. All right. So let's jump right in because we got 2 more episodes to go.
Oh. So it's the start of it. Still frozen. And then it goes to the actual page, title page. I believe. Yes, I got it right.
Victory or defeat?
Yes. And so this was like, I think this battle is like the most tense. Because like it was very, it's like chess almost.
Yeah. I think it's the most tense until the battle that will be next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one with next episode, that like 22, I think is going to be quite intense.
That's what I mean. Yeah, for sure.
I love the over exaggeration from President Mike because right now all that's happening is Shinzo and Midoriya are frozen in the middle of the ring, and so he's just like, okay, I have to add some extra commentary into this. So
it does seem like though they can kind of hear the people talking on stage sometimes, not all the time, because there'll be a battle in next week's thread that it doesn't sound like they could hear everything, but here it does seem like they kind of can hear. I love they break down this whole entrance exam stuff. I'll let you continue.
Yeah, well, I like that it's like Aizawa bringing it to everyone's forefront too, because him being a teacher and being somebody with a quirk that is not mostly intended for physical confrontation. It was just like when Deku didn't think, he's like, why is Eraserhead going out there to fight villains? All he does is erase quirks. And he's learned how to utilize himself as a hero in more phenomenal ways than anyone else that I could think of, and still have that very rare, weird quirk where he erases things. So he sees Shinzo, who has something like that, where it's an attribute for removal or freezing or whatever you want to do, like the top you want to do, and that the potential is there. But the testing and the way that they do the classroom scene for the UA doesn't really allow them to rise to the top. So
it makes you wonder what Aizawa's entrance exam was that he got in and got into, 1A of his generation.
Or was he in?
I think he was in 1A. There's a spin-off series that you get to go into his classroom stuff. I never saw his entrance exam, though, so I don't know how that boiled down. But he is in the cream of the crop class with Midnight and President Mike and some other people. But yeah, I wonder because I was thinking what could Shinso even do during that? He could do nothing that will get him points.
No.
If he saves somebody by overtaking them and getting them to move out of the way, when they're watching from cameras, they're not going to be able to see that it was him. If he uses somebody else's quirk to beat up robots, again, they're not going to see that it was him. So there's nothing that he could do. He would fail it miserably. And it's kind of the same thing with Aizawa, because Aizawa can only shut off abilities. So it's like, how could you use that? So it must have been either a different exam or he must have done exactly what Shinso is hoping to do, which is move up from one to the other.
Yeah. And I also think that they use the faux villain thing, I think, later on in their commentary about having robots. And the robots, you can't really see the quirks expressed.
Yeah, because some quirks control quirks.
Yeah.
We kind of get them talking about exactly that.
And then he starts talking to Midoriya a little bit about how he believes he's blessed and overpowered. In the kind of same way that Shoto thinks that he's been raised by basically All Might, think he has all this great parentage and all that stuff that we just went through with that. Now you have another person thinking because your quirk is so amazing and physical that you don't have all the trials that they had either, when neither of them realized what Deku went through.
I know. Kind of makes me wish that Deku could be a little more open and honest. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of glad he gets that with somebody later on. But I kind of wish he could talk to Shoto about it, or in this instance, sorry about that. I'm going to turn off my do not disturb. There we go. And then it's just it's interesting to see how people kind of react.
Yeah, it's even more so I think Bakugo's the closest thing he has to anybody who really knows his backstory and how things are happening and what's going on. And he's not emotionally going to be friends with him right at this point in time. So it's crazy.
Yep. Ooh, that's a good one. Sorry.
Oh, they start walking. Shinzo just tells him go walk out of bounds. That was like a simple command. And then Ida starts freaking out. And that was the closest thing I could get for his arms moving while he was freaking out about it. And then this is a sweet splash screen.
I love it. Yeah, he has such a cool look. I love it. Kind of looks like a little bit like a zombie in a way. With the dark circles.
It reminds me of like, I know Legion's hair is like crazier, but it kind of like that force to be reckoned with, like that look is what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I love. We get a little bit of Shinso's backstory in this episode.
Yeah.
I love that. So we learned a little bit about his powers. It's just when people answer his questions, and that's when he turns on a brainwashing switch. So there's clearly a switch.
I like how Aizawa's like talks about him. He has all their paper. He pulled every person that's going to be in this tally to kind of get some stats and kind of look at them because he's teaching them. So he wants to kind of see how they're going to go. And the only thing that Deku has, like, he's got a better quirk. He doesn't have to use it because he's physically in better shape than Shinzo is. So all it really needed was that he should have answered the question because he has to break the brainwashing to win.
Yeah. So. And it would be a good moment to talk about Creation Odyssey says that she thinks that maybe he got in by recommendation, like Todoroki. And that would make sense. Yeah, maybe Aizawa got in from that, for sure. I love that. I guess that just says, ah.
Yeah. It's just like complete disbelief.
This is, Midoriya is actually heading directly towards him, pretty much.
And then him internally like freaking out and being like, "What is going on? I can't figure out how to break out of this." He's remembering Ojiro talking about how he needed a shock to get out of the brainwashing. He got hit in the shoulder during the cavalry battle. I can't remember. I wanted to call it catapult battle, but cavalry battle. And so he's re-talking about all of this stuff.
Yeah. He's thinking about it as he's kind of going through because that's all he could do. Clearly. So he's able to like think, which is interesting because Ojiro kind of describes it in a different way, how he doesn't remember anything that happens until after this bump. But Midoriya, during this brainwashing thing, at least to us, the audience, is very clear in everything that's happening, and he's able to kind of break it down and like, oh, this is what I have to do. This is how Ojiro got out of it. Let me reminisce on that story he kind of told me and everything like that. So I wonder if that's like a power difference or what.
It might just be like how they point out that Bakugo's determination and everything else is pushing forward and doing this thing. And maybe the same thing would happen with Shoto or Momo or people that have a better and calmer personality, not just their quirk. They're just able to think better.
Yeah, kind of like I thought about it like we're talking Star Wars for a second. Whenever they try to use their force persuasion, how if you're smart enough or you have the intelligence enough, you can kind of like, oh, sorry, that doesn't work on me. I'm not weak-minded. Jedi mind tricks, and so it's kind of like that in a way. Granted, no matter what, it seems like with Shinso's power, you're going to be overtaken. So it's just how much you remain in that situation with him. I like this scene a lot.
Yeah, basically he made a friend.
Ojiro was putting his faith and trust in Midoriya because he's bowing out. So he's like, "You're facing off against this dude. Please, just do your best. I'm putting all my hopes and dreams upon you in this battle."
Exactly. This one was a hard one to screen capture too because there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Creation Odyssey said that Bakugo's oddly quiet, and like I think he's actually taking this part seriously.
Oh yeah.
School seriously, but I think he's watching these matches and watching these people who's going to be up next, who's going to win, and kind of see what's going on. And so I have a feeling that he is visually people that seem stronger, just like he realized that Shoto and Momo were smarter and stronger than him in that first part where he was freaking out that he wasn't the best. I think he's slowly seeing that other people have potential too.
I also think he's watching Deku
Yeah.
too, and being like, all right, this is the kid that gives me all this trouble. How is he going to get out of this situation that's clearly stacked against him from the start because he didn't listen to? He doesn't know that Ojiro told him stuff, but clearly he got brainwashed from the very get-go. I think he's smart enough to recognize that. But he's not freaking out because he also knows that no matter what happens, Deku kind of defies that kind of stuff. And so he's like, how are you going to get out of this kind of thing, too? So it'll be interesting. Yeah, we get this great scene of the different faces because this is the tunnel that All Might is in. And we see all these different faces kind of appear next to All Might as well. There you go.
You have all the different eyes and like it was really creepy looking, but I was kind of getting the idea of what they were trying to go for like spirits and kind of like doing that kind of thing, that part of the power. It was weird that it was in the doorway, not like around him somehow. So
yeah, I think it was still. I think the power is still centered around All Might because the embers are still within him. So I think that's the way at least because I thought the exact same thing. Like the scene, you'd think that it would just be in Midoriya's mind, so you could kind of like see it surrounding him or whatever. But because All Might is there, and All Might is the previous bearer of One for All, and he is one of those shadow faces. That one of them looks exactly like All Might. So one of the embers of One for All is there. I think they're all surrounding that.
Yeah. I just like the way this looked too, because he was like freaking out about it, where he could feel just like I don't even know how to explain it, like what it is, because it's like the power itself coming in, trying to get his determination to move and to break out of this.
The only thing I can think to compare it to is another anime, Naruto, because Naruto has he's a Jinchuriki, which means he has one of these like giant spirit demons, a tailed beast, if you were, contained within him. And because of that, there's this inner world within him that exists. And I feel like One for All is very similar, where it has like there's this inner world within One for All where the spirit of those that have had it prior exist in that world. And so once you've been passed down that gift, you now have access to this worlds where the other spirits existed.
I mean, we get a lot of like backstory for him too, and what's going on, and this made more sense later on in the other second half because people believe that he's a villain quirk. Basically, you're taking over people's minds and all that stuff, and he's like, I still have dreams too, even though my quirk might not be as good as yours.
Honestly, I think, funny enough, it's like this is the whole thing with like an artist. I think suffered this a lot too, right? It's like it doesn't matter how good of an artist you are, you think you're like the worst, and everybody else is amazing. Shinso has one of the most powerful quirks. He can literally become president tomorrow if he talked to the right people or worked his way up. Like he could become the most powerful person in the world. So he has a quirk that is like above and beyond. And yeah, he could use it for nefarious reasons like that. But no, he has a dream to use it in a better way. It's funny that he thinks so lowly of himself, but that is exactly the perception of everyone around him coloring that upon him, and we'll see that in his backstory. And it's devastating in a way like that. People have perverted this gift that he has, like this amazing gift. What a great gift to stop villains from doing stuff. All he has to do is be like, engage a villain in conversation, and boom, entire thing squashed.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And this is like the frame right before, and it was hard to get this right because it was like fingers lit up, kind of smoke, and then like couldn't quite see what happened. But he got his fingers to move together. And I believe it sets it off enough where he pushed him back.
He just flicks like this. That's it. He just does that, and that enough because it's 100% enough to shoot like a blast of air to hit the ground to shock himself back.
Yeah.
But Midoriya thinks that he was able to channel One for All to his finger, but he wasn't able enough to do the flicking thing he thinks. So he has no idea what's happening. He's just like,
no.
I love the looks he gives here are just so good.
And like everybody gets excited. They all cheer.
Yep.
And then by making them explode, I think this is Aizawa talking about his fingers.
It is.
So he's kind of being very aware of everything that's happening. And later on, he makes like a comment about how Midoriya doesn't take like small victories lightly. He like stores them away to use them at different opportunities to make sure that things fall in his favor. And he's adding those like to his little like toolbox basically.
This is actually President Mike talking about the making them explode. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Aizawa does that great thing about him taking his past experiences and being able to change his own fate with those past experiences, which I thought was such a great line.
And this is where I think Shinzo started talking to him again too. And then he's like, I have to cover my mouth to remind myself basically that I need to not talk.
I think I would have done the exact same thing in his situation. Even mentally knowing not to respond, I would have quickly covered my mouth because I worry about it. James asked, do you think Shinso's quirk would work on a person with headphones? And I think that depends on if the person with headphones heard Shinso. Because it seems like it directly has to be someone responding to a question Shinso asks. I don't know how that works, right? Because clearly there's an audience around the stadium. And he can't control the entire audience because they're not answering his question. His question is directed at Midoriya. So if Midoriya answers, Midoriya gets taken over. So the question about the headphones is I think that if you're wearing headphones and you don't hear the question, but you talk to Shinso, I think you're fine. But I think if you answer the question because you kind of hear it in a way, then you're screwed. I don't know. Not gone into enough to really kind of get enough clarification on that. But that's what I take from it.
Sounds all right. And this is Midoriya just thinking about everything and how One for All works and what the hell just happened to him and his little spiritual experience that he just had. And he's realizing that there's other people in this power now within him, basically, that he can see. And poor Shinso realizes now that the monkey, I love that he calls him that too, but Ojiro told him what was going on.
But he was actually thinking that he shouldn't have been able to be taken over from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because he should have known this. So he's wondering why he's covering his mouth and not responding now. He's like, no, but I was able to control you a second ago. So clearly did something change in these past couple of seconds pretty much that made you realize it. No, it's just Deku's emotional as hell, so that's all. Mm-hmm. You said the right buttons you pressed the right buttons to start off the match. That was it.
Yeah. And then this is like all of Midoriya's like emotional buttons during this entire time because he's having internal turmoil because he just understands all of this so well that it's like he's like talking to his own, like they could be like besties. It's just like ridiculous about how much he has to try not to speak back during this time.
And I feel like if they were in the same class and they kind of knew each other, they would probably be like best friends. These two.
Yeah.
Love that one. That's one of my favorite looks.
There's like, now it's just like a fist fight. It's like Midoriya trying to push him out and then Shinzo punching him and like trying not to. This part was gross. Like he grabs his arm and you can hear the crunching noises from his fingers being broken. Like he's trying to wrap them around, getting ready to do this move. I didn't realize that's what it was.
This pain is from Deku doing the move himself. Like this is he's inflicting this on himself, but he has to win. And yeah, you try to grab somebody with broken fingers on an arm. It's just ugh.
You just the noise that it makes too is great, and like he has him out too, because he can't even loop it around. So he's throwing it. Well, I guess he's got his shirt too, but with 2 fingers basically to try to lift him up and turn him around. And I think this is where
his power either.
Yeah, and Aizawa right here realized this is the same move from the Bakugo flip too, so he is utilizing other things. And everybody's like in disbelief.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shinso's out with that long A on the outfit.
And then we have a little backstory for this. I like how he's just like, he looks like Aizawa, like he's probably tired and like super nice in middle school, and like just they have these 3 people talking to him and they talk about how cool he is.
I think these are totally like his friends, which one of them really kind of makes me laugh the way how she talks.
Mm-hmm.
The girl at the end, like, I would totally do this. Like, you know, I have my own like voice in my head of like how she talks, but it was so what?
Oh, they asked him not to brainwash them though, and he was kind of like just like, well, everyone says that, and then it goes like looking around the entire classroom, and everybody's just like kind of looking at him, kind of worried, and like not knowing what's going to happen, and not knowing what's going on. It's
a quirk that in modern society would cause a lot of distrust, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, did you brainwash me? Like, I don't know. How do I know that you didn't brainwash me? Did I make that decision myself? It's the same thing that a lot of in X-Men comics, people who talk to Professor X or Jean Grey, the whole like telepathy thing, like, oh, did you make me think that? But you could make me think that. You could make me forget things. Like, have you done that to me? It's one of those things that's like, as the person with that power, it has to be such a struggle to kind of go through that. And I feel so bad for Shinso in this, because he's at this age, like 12. 13, maybe he's like just beginning to make friends, right? For like his, going off to high school and stuff like that. And yet everybody has this great mistrust of him just because of the quirk he didn't choose for himself.
Yeah.
He just happens to have.
He's so mad with himself.
I like that. Kaminari being like, oh, use that on you, huh?
I don't know what he says to him, but it's Bakugo realizing that Midoriya is aiming to be number 1 now. I think that's like the full idea behind this whole like little scene, was Bakugo like, okay, now I gotta take it up a notch because Deku's gonna meet me there. Because Todoroki thinks he's meeting Deku there, and Bakugo now is like, okay, I'm gonna be meeting Midoriya at the top.
Yep. There you go.
Yes.
The flow of change in his favor. I really like that line a lot.
He has great lines all the time, though.
He really does. He really does.
And then he asked him why he wanted to be a hero, because whatever, and that was something Shinso wasn't expecting. He was expecting to make fun of him or whatever he needed to do. And then,
I love this scene. It's just like all of his classmates being like, you did so, you're the star of general studies. You're like the best, yeah.
They're so excited. And like all the other heroes were kind of talking about it too, a little bit about how cool. Yeah, this guy.
I love this guy. What a crazy look. He's just like, yeah, his quirk would be great. And he's just like so nonchalant, really nice guy. Looks like a demon shaman, but really nice guy.
It's like not only is he have like alligator power, like body powers, he had a
wearing a skull. Yeah. And then a torn cape, no shirt.
Yeah. And then I Jokes out there.
Yep, Ms. Joke. She's there.
I was excited when I saw that. I didn't realize she was that early.
I knew she was here. I had forgotten she wore a mask during this stuff. Because she's not wearing a mask when we see her later on in the series, when we get to meet her.
UA's not very smart if they put him in general studies. That almost makes me think that they had other teachers from other schools out there too, Sky.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. I always like the blue sky. It makes. I don't remember what he even says to him at this point, and then he's like, "Oh yeah."
He wants to talk to him because he wants to be like, "Hey,
I
know where you're coming from more than you know." But he's basically like just being like,
Yeah.
he's being Deku. I don't really know what else to say. I like that. At this rate, someone should be up in no time.
Because he's so gullible.
Creation Odyssey says, like how sad to be painted. How sad to be painted a villain before you ever get the chance to choose. That's exactly it. And that's why one of the reasons why I like Shinso so much is like he was painted the villain early on, but he's defined that as much as possible. And he's trying his best to get into the hero course, so he gets the chance to prove, I think, to himself as well as those kids from back then that, hey, this ability of mine, I could easily rob banks, take over buildings, all this other nonsense, but I could also do a lot of good with it. What a great scene. Because we pan out from the building, and Deku says one more thing to him in response, and Shinso is just fucking with him. And it's like, I'll keep freezing you. Why not?
I like this look, too. It just made me laugh every time. It's like, oh.
He looks like a kid. James says, great line. It isn't your responsibility to live up to other people's expectations. And funny enough, I actually saw that going around in people's stories this past week, just a line. And I'm very happy to see that because it's a good thing to remember. It's like everybody will put expectations upon you. It doesn't matter if you know them for 5 minutes or 5 years. Mm-hmm. People have expectations of everyone they meet. And it is not the person whose expectations those are thrust upon to meet them. It's you to just be you. You don't have to meet other people's expectations. So. Oh, is it Pipple who says that? He's the Pipple of heroes. Anyway.
Oh, and this was where he's like down because he couldn't smile at all. Well, he's brainwashed for half of it, and then he was in pain, so he can't really blame it. And then the recovery girl is like, "Oh."
She sees what's happening. Yeah, she sees right through Toshi. She's like, "Oh, you put some weird pressure on him again." She's so pissed.
Oh, I forgot. When she hits him, like the next one is like her hitting him and getting mad. I thought she hit him in his bad side, and I was like, "That's mean," but I realized it's on the other side.
She's a doctor. She would.
Yeah.
Or she could be vindictive and get him right where it needs it.
Yeah. Like, and Deku's face there, like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, I love this. He's like, "Oh, did you ever have this moment where you saw all the faces from One for All? I think that's what was happening. I saw like 8 or 9 faces staring back at me, and one of them looked like you. Blah 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 blah. And they seem to give me this power. Like, does this happen to you?" He's like, scary. What the heck? No. It's like he was expecting like this great response, and All Might's just like, "Oh God, what? No."
That's weird. Oh, and then he goes on and on about, like, I think he's like, it's a dream or something to that regard, kind of like just tries to, like, call it not what he thinks it is, like, actual powers within him. And Midoriya is like, that's not cool enough of an explanation, basically. Like, that was lame. That's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted something.
He's like, I really need someone to explain to me what all those heads and faces were. And you just said, no, it's your inner strength channeling itself through your finger, and you flicked it yourself. Like, that's not, no, bullshit. Not satisfying.
Oh, and this was kind of sad. It was just like, yeah, you were there too, he said. And then I think, I don't remember his response.
He does say, he says good afterwards.
Yeah.
Which is this very sad thing. It's like Toshi knows his end of days are coming up. This.
I just love this line too. It's just like coming from him. It just like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of weight coming from Endeavor.
No, it's like really, and he thinks he's being like this great. And I think later on the stairs, like All Might and Endeavor's reaction because he starts talking about Shoto, and he's like, "You have no place to tell me that you can train a kid or talk to about a kid or parent or teach when you were you because maybe he wasn't the best mentor back then either. We don't know yet, so
yeah,
crazy."
This line to me reads a lot like, and I'm going to go for another comic book reference, which I know you'll guess. It's like when Deathstroke trains his kids or whatnot, he basically sees them as weapons. He's just sharpening a weapon. He does not see them as individual people with needs, desires, strengths, weaknesses, all that stuff. It is just you are a weapon, and if you're not using your sharp edges to the best of their ability, you're a disgrace. Like you're not being the weapon you should be. You're a blunt edge kind of thing. And that kind of strikes me as Endeavor at this point only sees Shoto as his vehicle to, in a sense, get to number one through Shoto. And he's not seeing.
Yeah.
This is I love that face.
He's trying to explain to him that just using the ice side, you'll never be able to get to where you want to be anyways. He wants to use the fire side because he didn't give it to him. He basically thrust him into this world of having both sides of the powers, but letting him know that you can't just use just the ice side for the rest of your heroic life. You're going to have to figure something out. But then it's coming from Endeavor, so Todoroki's now determined more than ever to show him how strong the ice powers are.
James says this is an amazing episode. After I do want to talk about real quick how James corrected me about the Pitbull thing. I thought he was talking about Pitbull, the person. Pitbull's the dog, which is really funny for a number of reasons. But I got it. James says this is an amazing episode. And I think this episode, the episode before it, 2 episodes to come. I think we're going to get a little levity in the next episode. But the episode afterward, like this string of stuff, there's heavy stuff and great stuff in all of these. What a good series.
Just the way that Saro is on this too.
This is poor Saro. Again, I'll say it. I love this is President Mike slamming Saro.
I just like they keep calling him flat face or plain or like all that stuff, and like he gets later on, he's like, "That's really mean."
He says it in response to this line, actually. I think, right? I think I thought he did.
Oh, I didn't catch them all because it was like way too much dialogue for like.
Up
over there.
President Mike says a whole bunch.
It's
not real strong.
Yeah. This fight sequence, he like started really quickly. Like he was ready for this, and like he realized that he had to get it over with as quick as possible because Todoroki was as cool as he was. I think this was very smart for Saro. He's not in the same league as Shoto, but at least he gave it the best that he could at this point in time.
If Saro came back from the future 20 years from now, when he is full pro hero, amazing, best of his ability, he still would not be able to beat 14-year-old Shoto Todoroki. Their powers are just too mismatched. And Saro has a great power set, and he's good. He'll use it well. He used it well here. He uses the best he could. He did the best he could, but there's no way he would take down Shoto. Because this is great. He does a great job. He goes super quick.
Well, it's clean because it's like he wrapped him with both, and then he like even rips it from his own elbow to like start to like do the double hand to swing all around. So smooth.
Shoto's just like, I know what's happening, but you're not gonna like what's gonna happen next.
This is the face of faces coming up too. Just like because he's not even looking at Saro. Saro is not in this entire arena at all whatsoever right now. And I think I missed the screen where it says just sorry, and then is what Shoto like thinks. I don't even know if he actually said it out loud.
He feels bad about it, and we'll see it a little bit afterwards because he goes overboard, like depressingly overboard. But Endeavor just fired him up to a point where he could not control it.
Oh, it's when they start the shaking from the ice going off.
Because at this point we haven't seen what had happened yet. We see the reverberations of Shoto's return.
His glasses tilting and just like. And I think I saw his eyes.
As I was like, what is this? What's going on? Love it. Love everybody's reaction. And then this is the people from outside seeing that
Yeah.
over the sports festival. I love this. That's one of my favorite looks of Todoroki ever.
Mhm.
He just breaks off all that tape like it's nothing.
I like that it was matching because it's like her right. Is it her right side? Is it the right like ice side?
His left is the fire. Yeah, the ice side, the correct side for that.
Yeah, I thought that was amusing that they did that.
Well, he's like, of course not. It's like,
Yeah.
do you see me? Do you see what happens if I move anything? Something's gonna fall off.
Yeah, they know that now too. They're like very aware of this. He's now he feels bad. He's in like pouty Shoto mode. I'm sorry, I was angry.
Can't control it.
Oh, this part too. I wish we could record that noise for the no mind.
Don't mind.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, like, okay, so the number of times I've watched a sports festival is like probably 10 times or something like that at this point. But I never once picked up on the don't mind until after watching Haiku. And then the second someone in the audience yells, don't mind, I'm like, oh, okay, there we go. I know that now because in every episode of Haiku, someone in the audience is yelling, don't mind, after like a misserve or something like that. Oh, this is next episode?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so what do you think? Favorite moment?
This was like a really like compacted, efficient episode. I think I messaged you about this too because they had 2 fights and a backstory, and it was like seamless in 20 minutes. I was like super impressed by that too. The fact that I can't remember the fight now before this one, before Midoriya, which was I think it was the Shinsu Midoriya one. I have to go with me because even though James says that he's a jobber, I love Sero, so it doesn't matter. I really like that we got to see an efficient use of his powers. I really think the tape elbow thing is unique.
It is very unique. It's very much like a Spider-Man thing, but instead of coming out of the hands, the elbows is a very tough place to.
Yeah, I just thought it was very interesting the way it is, and it's not like one of those things where he can like make it into shapes or anything. It's just straight
tape, just tape.
Yep.
My favorite moment has to be after Shinso and Deku throw down. It is Shinso walking away so dejected, and then his classmates building him up, and everybody being like, "Oh, that quirk is fantastic. I would love that on my squad or as a an intern." Blah 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 blah. It's just that positivity that came out of that loss, and I really appreciated that a lot. It's just I don't know seeing a character who was feeling that down on himself after getting a couple of wins because he was able to use his powers efficiently. I really like that a lot. So
it's nice to see it from a character we just met too. So
yeah,
it's like
totally. And it's one of those things too, where it's like we got his backstory and we got that whole thing about people painting him as a villain before he had a chance to choose, kind of thing. And it's like seeing someone kind of rise up from that is always an inspiring and powerful thing when it happens, because it doesn't happen a lot. A lot of the time, that's the beginning of a villain story. As James in the chat said and whatnot, or I think Dan said it too. So James' favorite moment is the Shinso classroom scene. Again, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of talks about jobbers. So let's jump into the final episode of the evening. We're at the 2-hour mark, so try to keep this a little going quickly.
Short, yeah.
Yep. This is a fun episode. Just like a lot of quick things kind of happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a bunch of really, really good battles, but it's kind of like just summing up everybody else that's going on.
Yep. It is literally battle on challengers, which is what I named today's episode because I was like, oh, we're seeing all everybody's a challenger, right? So let's go for it. This is great.
This whole sequence with her being calling President Mike out for calling her an assassin because he was just trying to add some flair to everything, and how she's acting all saintly and super sweet and everything like that. It was amusing to me.
Well, what a weird word to use. When he first says it too, I'm like, why would you call her an assassin? What?
Yeah.
What does that have to do anything with anything?
Yeah. And then Kamari just being the new Mineta for this one point in time this episode too. For this, he's just like, oh, actually, I kind of like her. Let's get really quick on this so I can ask her out after we get the fight.
He also thinks that he's going to beat her within like a second.
Yes. It's the bubbles that he's all excited.
And he goes right into, like, he jumps off from the get-go with his big move. Indiscriminate shot, because he wants to get it over and done with.
Mm-hmm. It's just, and then, like, she grows her hair out and then just, like, chops it off, like, at that part. Yeah. But from this point of view, too, and I don't know, the next slide has it better. I wasn't sure if it was continuing to grow, even if it's disconnected, if she still has...
That I don't know. Yeah. Because I was wondering, because, the stuff under the ground.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, because it's not coming off of her head. I think she can control the hair even after it's been disconnected.
And I'm wondering if that's what the pose is for, but I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I think that's just her character. She just, does the whole praying, posing thing a lot. like Eva's like, what a teenage boy. Yeah, Kaminari's definitely a teenage boy. Like, she's so cute. I mean, I have to beat her. I feel bad. I'm going to beat her within a second. But, hey, after this, you want to go get some, like, ramen or something? And she kicks his ass. I love it. Yeah. Love it. This is the scene.
His face was just like, oh.
This is, everybody's reaction to it. Like, what? Who's this kid?
Yeah. And then Kendo knocks him out, and they're like, what the heck?
I love that was the first time we saw Kendo. I mean, outside of her grabbing him, this is the first time we see her actually, like, she is basically his handler. Like, he gets out of hand too often, and she will consistently just punch the crap out of him, just get him to stop, just knock him out.
And I like that they're all, like, surprised by this. This entire scene where he's, like, writing in his still burned notebook because he doesn't want to waste paper, which I do appreciate. And so he's, like, going on and muttering, like, going on. And, like, her reaction to this, Bakugo's annoyed no end.
I love that the actual sound effect is bouncing off of his face.
Mm-hmm.
Eva, yes, I know what you're referring to with electric is weak to grass. I get it. I don't play Pokemon, but I get it anymore. I mean, I did play Pokemon. Anyway. Oh, it somehow clicked off the screens. Okay.
Oh. And then she's like going on. She's like, "Oh, you're still having time to like write down this stuff and like evaluate your team, the future people you're gonna fight against." And he's like, "No, I'm just doing this for fun." And then he shows her area in his notebook of like what her powers do, and then she just automatically. This made me laugh. I wrote down a comic book reference about when the Justice League finds out that Batman has files on all of them and their weaknesses. It kind of reminded me of that. So I was like the shock of like, what are you doing?
But if I could add a little thing on top of that, it's the fact that she has a massive crush on Midoriya, and the fact that he's been taking notes on her probably makes her feel a little blush to be like, you've been paying attention to me? Like, well, maybe I haven't noticed that you've been paying attention to me. I mean, my guess. But yeah, it is very much a Justice League noticing Batman has a contingency to take him down kind of thing.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yep. I forgot about this fight.
Yeah, the fight. The fight. It's more like a sales pitch. And this is when the Midnight's telling him, he's like, you can't wear this gear that you didn't put in there. And then he goes and blames it on Aoyama. Aoyama has a belt. Like, it makes this sense. But he's like,
he's just saying that, like, I submitted a petition.
Yeah.
Dan, I hope this is what you're like in real life. It's just this. Like, I'm just that guy. That's kind of how I see it in my mind, my mind's eye.
Hanging out. And then he justifies it because he thought that Hatsume has this fighting spirit. He wants everything to be the same. She can fly with her jetpack, so he needs some kind of aerial momentum too. I think he thinks the thing is for flying, is for one part too.
I loved Midnight's whole reaction to this whole scene.
Mm-hmm. She's excited about the youth and everybody being excited for the festival and everything else. She's amazing.
But great face as well. What a great face. Like, even her tongue is a heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. So, yes. And then here comes the marketing pitch, a.k.a. the battle between Hatsumi and Ida, which is really just Hatsumi selling her quirks or her products, her babies, to the support industry that's sitting all the way up and back. We'll learn about her quirk a little bit.
Well, it's like President Mike's like, she has a microphone, and then I was like, she's got speakers, like just like on her outfit, and they're like, oh.
She thought all of this through.
Just so funny. And like she demonstrates. I like how she keeps tripping him too, because he can't stop running because the gear's helping him run so much faster and better than normal.
Yep. But also she wants to show off those stabilizers, so she keeps tripping him up to kind of be like, hey, look, I keep tripping him, but he's not falling because... Yeah.
This part, I forgot that her quirk was that she could see far off. And so when she zooms in to find the people that she wants to promote to, then she can look at them dead in the eye. So
her quirk has nothing to do with her scientific or engineering capabilities, and it is amazing. It might help, like doing circuitry work, stuff like that, but it's nothing that a microscope could help with or whatnot, or like magnifying glasses. It's great to see her character is so much more than her quirk.
Yes. Oh, she got sensors because he was trying to keep.
Yeah. Lena's trying to come up from behind, but she has sensors from behind. Yeah.
And she's just talking. And I love Aizawa's just like completely like, oh my gosh.
My favorite is President Mike being like, what is this? Like, what are we watching? Their faces are just priceless, and this whole moment is just so good. And then they think it's over too, but they're like, wait, what? There's more?
Then I think it's like 10 minutes later, and then she just like walks out the arena. Yeah, she's so excited about everything.
She just wanted to, present her pitch. That was it. I need to know what the NHA stood for. Because, I'm going to guess Hatsumi is the H. I'm going to guess. It's probably like her first name, her last name, and then whatever the name of her product line is, like association or something like that.
This next Ida face. Just completely does not know what to do with himself. And I like how Deku, too, when he was talking about how she's got all this fighting spirit, Deku's like, she's really nice, but I don't think that that's in her repertoire to be a fighter.
I love this too, like the "I'm sorry" because they did this in 2 freeze frames. They're like, "I'm sorry, I used you," and it's kind of like she was totally fine about it. She's not really sorry. She used him for her personal gain, and I think Deku, as he's writing in his notebook, says like she'll do anything for her goal. Pretty much is what he writes down.
Oh, and then we go to the next fight after that.
Explain me this. Even though he's wearing a belt, he won't transform, because I did not get this reference whatsoever.
It's gotta be some anime thing or something. I don't know. No, because I was trying to think if there was maybe it's a Power Rangers reference. Don't they use their belts in the first one?
I mean, that's the morpher though that transforms them. It's not the belt.
I think
they all have like morph coins and whatnot. Yeah, I don't understand the belt that makes them transform. Someone in the audience, please let us know. Fill us in.
Ultraman is what Eve was saying.
Oh, is it Ultraman? Oh, I think Ultraman's belt does make him transform. Wow, that would be a deep pull if that's what I went for. Dan's just like, it doesn't need to make sense. It's fine. It's Ayala.
Yeah, it doesn't. We'll just forgive him for that.
Yeah, this is Ayama getting his comeuppance, and I love it. Because he's just like, oh, don't worry, I'll make this quick, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, Mina puts him in his place so quick. I like that. The great scene. I'll return those words right back at you.
Yeah. I like it too because they remember like their interactions with each other through the like the tests and everything. They were partners, and so Mina brings it up quite a bit. She's like, "Don't you remember half the stuff you told me about all your weaknesses, about having a time frame movement?" And I didn't get why Mineta wanted her, unless he wanted her to shoot her clothes off. I couldn't figure out why this even.
Yes, he wants like a mud fight or mud wrestling fight or something like that. That's all he wants.
Mm-hmm. It's just like it was random to me because I was like, what?
He just wants to see skin. He doesn't care how he gets it. It could be a terrible way, a good way. It doesn't matter. He's terrible.
Yeah, this is when he's like bragging about it.
Exactly. Maybe don't brag about your weaknesses. I don't know.
I got the Thum, which I was super excited about.
It's a good theme. It's a very good theme.
And so he's shooting around everywhere. Like he's getting tired, basically, because Mina's jumping around. She realizes now that he's finally getting to that sickly point, and so she threw the acid onto his belt, which he's very.
And then pants drop.
Off. I was like.
But then the best scene of this whole episode.
Him.
Oh, but it's not even that. It's the noise he makes in 3 different scenes. He goes, oh, 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 like 3 different ways and 3 different times. It's just out. I loved it. Love it.
Yeah, I think the next one has her. Yeah, she's like hits him hard.
It's the best. Yeah, his sound effects, so good. Tokiyami versus Creati.
Mm-hmm. Before this started, though, I think is it Ojiro and Midoriya that talk, and they're like, what do you think of this one? Because he's writing stuff in his book, and he's like, I think it's going to be a matter of time. And the guy's like, what? He doesn't understand what's going on. But Midoriya is enough in his mind, and then Momo says it herself too. She's like, how do I make a weapon first? Do I make a shield? And she's like trying to figure out what's going to happen that she needs to do first to win.
She went for the shield first, and ended up being like having to do with time. She just didn't have the time to make the weapon.
Yeah, she kept saying she couldn't collect her thoughts because it was like a bombardment. Because Tokiyami doesn't have to stop. She
even says that how the fact that he has 0 lag on his ability, his ability can work right with his thoughts. So there's no like second in between where she can take the time to think about the complex nature of what the weapon she needs to make.
And then
she's just deflecting. Yeah, she's just deflecting left and right.
And then she went to go stop, and then she's like, "Oh, Tokiyami stopped," and then she realizes that she's out of bounds.
I'm sorry, I just saw Dan's reply in the comments. You know that's the best moment when he gets knocked out. And the noises he makes is great. It's so pathetic. I love it. I like Aoyama because he's so pathetic and ridiculous.
I do like this new friendship now, though, because they're like kind of talking about things in a way. He's like seeing Midoriya is writing down things and learning, and he knows that he's coming from a good place too. And Ojiro is also very attentive to these things as well. So it was neat.
Yeah. I like that too. I like seeing all the different students kind of come around to who Midoriya really is. Mm-hmm. It's great.
This made me laugh.
The poses are the same. Mm-hmm. Everything's the same.
So this matchup between redundant. Oh, he was sleeping because he doesn't care about.
Because there's no girls in this fight. Yeah.
Oh, and the hero's just pissed. I love how the girls just pick on him the entire time too.
Jiro most of all though. Jiro feels slighted when he doesn't like hit on her. Like it's kind of weird. It's a weird relationship between these two, and I kind of hope nothing ever happens with it, but I fear that something will. But yeah.
And there's just a lot. I didn't get a lot of slides of them punching at the same time, hitting each other the same way, and kind of moving on from that.
They just have a great tet for tet battle, which kind of goes with Tetsu's name. Everything's just punch for punch, hit for hit.
I remember thinking the steel guy was just some kind of filler like character, because I was like, okay, they had to have somebody this redundant thing on it, and so I was glad to see that he is in other seasons and coming up and being more prominent.
He's Oh, Eva. I mean, I'm not saying it because I like it. It's what happens. Uh, yeah, they definitely do have that weird relationship in a way. Just notice it. You'll see. Yeah. Tetsu. He was just in a chapter I read like 2 weeks ago that got released on Shonen Jump. So yeah, he comes back. It's great.
Oh. So then Midoriya finally realizes that Ochako left during this battle, and she kind of quietly left. She left her drink there. And
I love the drink symbolism, by the way, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's great. They show it, and they kind of show it's full of ice and whatnot. There's a little bit of condensation on it. But by the time he realizes it, like the ice is all melted. It's like in a pool of the condensation and whatnot. So yeah, it's been a while.
He's muttering. He's got his time going on.
Oh yeah, he's in the zone.
And so Ida comes into their break room and notices it, and then she obviously is in the zone trying to figure out what she's going to do to fight against Bakugo. And she doesn't even know she's wrinkling her brow. Another great faceplate that needs to be made. She needs more variety.
She does.
Mm-hmm.
She should be who they should come out with the female the UA tracksuit in.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we can get like 5 new faceplates, because the Ochako Nendoroid, sorry to jump off on toys again for a second, is the most, I don't know, I was so sad with the faceplates we got because they're too like cutesy, which she has all these amazing serious faces that they should have used. And we're going to see them all, like great representations of them coming up in this episode, the next episode. Yeah, that's all. That's all I have to say.
Just like this is their representation of him too. They can't just have him like he is just like evil reincarnate too. Like I was like, okay.
I mean, if he was in my class, I would probably think that's what he was too.
And I like how he's trying to make her feel better. Ida's like, well, I don't even think Bakugo would go full strength explosion on a girl. And Deku is just completely to the
no, he would.
He's like, he would. And
yeah.
they're like, what? No.
Oh, there it is. It's super small, but he would.
Yeah. And then he kind of talks about, he wrote down a strategy for her and kind of trying to figure out something better to help her in beating Kacchan, because he knows everything about Bakugo. So he tried to figure out an easier way for her to win. And she decides that she is going to refuse his help on the same thing, that she knows that he's amazing, but she realizes even during the Calvary battle that she kind of just relies on him too much right now, and she's not stepping into her own, and she needs to be stronger and wants to be like Ida and be brave. Their little 3 friendship is very, very, very cute.
I really like that. I love the fact that she feels this confidence in herself that she can come up with the strategy she needs, even though she comments about how Deku has been thinking about stuff and all that stuff. It's great, and he's a good friend and everything like that. But she feels she has to do this for herself, and I think that's one of the best things to come out of next episode is the fact that she does it all on her own steam. What she does, the progress she makes, it's all because she put herself there.
No, this is the draw from them punching each other in the face over and over again for Kirishima and the Steel Guy. And so they both are just laid out. So they have to
Tetsu. His name is Tetsu.
I will say it one of these days, but it sounds so awkward.
Well, say his full name then. Tetsu.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe this twice. But they're going to come back and have a arm wrestling match is what they said, right?
Yep.
Something really, really boring.
I love it. I don't know. I think it's my Kirishima fanboy, but I really like their whole battle is hit for hit. They have a great friendship that kind of comes out of all this stuff, just kind of being the same. But then they'll eventually learn their differences and whatnot. And it's just really kind of cool to see it.
This is the cute pictures for them too. She's very determined, and he could probably care less right now for taking a photo.
Yep. I wonder when these photos were taken. Probably before the entire sports festival.
Maybe, because Midoriya's looked like he was scared out of his mind.
Yeah. Which seems like it would be before the sports festival. Because I feel like going into this one-on-one battle, he had confidence.
Yeah.
But before the very first one, he was nervous. He was a nervous wreck.
I think they just kind of this face.
This isn't the face of a regular person. Indeed. His weird teeth thing, that should be a faceplate for Nendo's.
He needs more like glaring, like he's not one to have like a pretty face on, like ever. Like I think they make fun of that later on, that he doesn't have like a twinkling like charm to him. Like that's part of his charm, is that he has like irregular faces.
He makes great faces though. I actually do think they did a great job with his Nendo though. I love it. So. Sorry to keep talking about Nendos.
It's all right.
I know you find it to be all right. I mean, more for the audience.
That's the faceplate she should have. That one and then a fighting one.
I think it should be. I actually want a little bit more serious than that, even like stern serious. Not the dark colored brow one. That's very much a very specific scene, but somewhere in between. Too.
I think that's the end of the episode.
Yep, it ends with basically them panning out to the sky and saying, "Episode or Battle 8 or whatever number it is, start." And that's where we leave off.
Yeah.
Nendo Analysis Beyond. I love it. Thank you guys for tuning into Nendo Analysis Beyond. What was your favorite moment from this episode?
This one had a lot though, because they had all the different matches and everything going on. But I really like Hatsume. She like is like the coolest, like for not having the cool quirk and also just being in a completely different type of class and just not caring about the hero stuff. She wants to be that supporting character. She knows what she's doing.
Yep.
It was really neat.
Business sense. She's gonna take the support industry by storm. She's ready for it.
Yeah, it's just unique, and like it builds that world even more, that there's people out there that just like kind of have these different ideas. They're not there to show off that they can punch to the wall and smile. They want to be there to support other people that need a little assistance.
She's there to be the go-to support person for heroes because she believes in her skill to make the best items. Mm-hmm. Not because of saving people and all this other altruistic hero nonsense. She believes in her own ability to just make great babies, as she calls them.
What about you?
My favorite moment is definitely Aoyama getting punched out and his little, like 3 different ways. 100% makes me laugh every time I watch it. And I adore it. And now even more so because I know Dan loves Aoyama so much. James says, I think Uraraka is never as cool as she is in her tank top with a big old serious face. Which we'll see next episode. Which brings us down to the end of this episode.
Yeah.
So that was a good 4-episode stretch. We have some great fights coming up, some huge fights coming up next episode, which should be tentatively, I believe, next Saturday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Here, and thank you guys for joining us tonight. It was a long one, 2.5 hours, but we got a whole extra episode in.
Yes.
We're ahead of the curve.
It's a long season, so.
It is a long season. We are now 7 episodes into the season? Something like that? 7, 8? I don't know, somewhere around there. We're a good number of episodes in. We're in it. We're here to win it. Just like Bakugo. We want to be number 1 in your hearts and minds.
Bakugo don't care about your hearts.
Okay, well, I meant just the number 1 part. After that was all me. So, all right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great rest of your weekend. If you're here in the States, enjoy your 3-day weekend if you got one. If not, I don't know, do something fun for yourself on Monday. Live the plus ultra lifestyle. Yeah, and I'm going to go eat tacos. So, good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.